All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm uploading right now, so there'll be some dropped frames. All right. Hello,
Oh god, that's
everybody.
my own voice.
Well,
Sorry guys about the echo there. What WP is saying right now is a lie. What do you mean? I'm saying hello. Is that a lie? It's been discovered. This isn't actually live. This is pre-recorded, guys. Pre-recorded. What I've done is I've done the whole stream back on Thursday, and what I've done is just set it up so that chat is live. But that's it. So chat basically it's all pre-recorded, and then chat is being live overlaid and streamed essentially. So that is correct. What you can see those messages there. However, I can't actually respond in real time to them because I don't actually know what chat is. I'm purely predicting what you're saying because everyone who uses Twitch chat is a predictable little boy and a little girl that will spam, you know, the similar things under the similar context, and I just know that. So, but you'll notice I don't actually directly refer to anyone's message except the person who prompted this, Matt up there. And here's the thing, it's because he's not real, he's a bot. And I've coded that to have those bot messages come in just at regular intervals, and then which I can see even here on Thursday. And yeah, that's how I'm actually faking it. This is not even the pilot. This is the third time I've done it. And in a few weeks, what I'm going to do is just transition all my streams to being like this, so I can have weekends back, right? Weekends, that's something normal adults have. And yeah, it will be good. I'll be free to go do whatever I like. At your expense, really, but I have no respect for you, so. So yeah. The problem with this joke now is I've now run dry. The anecdote's over, but I can't look to chat for inspiration anymore because it would just immediately ruin it. I'm just hoping Matt will. There you go. So Matt says I can confirm I'm a bot. See, so yeah, that's why I can respond to him. See, you're in an interesting place here, Matt, because basically I'll respond to you and only you today, because you know. But you got to keep chat going. You see that burden is on your shoulders. Got to figure it out. So anyway, interesting week for me. Let's see. I've eaten extremely unhealthily all week, like terribly unhealthily all week. I've been up all day and all night, obsessively PvPing, ridiculous amounts. It was a Gunflame Killshot Warrior for a long time. I'm sort of over it now. I've played maybe 60 to 70 matches on that. Maybe close to 100 actually, over what must have only been a 3 or 4 day period. And I was really excited about it. But here's the problem. When people actually get good, the build is just terrible. It cannot compete with Hollows. Hollows have got so much stuff, and it just gets chewed up. It doesn't it's very mobile, but it doesn't have, I don't know, somehow it doesn't have the self-kite and pill potential that I discover on FA, which can kind of compete at those levels. I think the reason Fresh Air can compete at those levels is because you can constantly be hazing and firing behind you as you flee, which is a really important distinction, and like perk and asset that means you can throw people off of you. When you're that warrior and you're fleeing, you have no way really to turn around on them, not unless you rampage, throw a boulder over your shoulder, and it connects. But then you still have to stop, turn around, and leap in. While Fresh Air can constantly just be firing off air attunement swaps and air 2s and some of the other mixes as well. So I don't know. I really lost faith in it, unfortunately. You'll see some more Game of the Days on that build because I've got a ton recorded. I think we'll probably do like 4 more Game of the Days on that. And there'll be like double episodes, so I'll do it and do it again. But yeah, I just had a really miserable experience, to be honest. As soon as I started getting into real primetime queues, yeah, not on either EU or NA. I've been on both, and on both it's just not really there. It's not working for me. Firebrand though, you can basically mash your face on the keyboard and win anyway, and constantly keep winning. So, well, I do a lot more than mash my face on the keyboard on a Firebrand, but it's kind of disgusting, the meta. I mean, and Hollow isn't particularly, I mean, because I have played it, it is pretty spammy too, to be honest. You know, if you take the... But I don't want to play anything that's too overused now. That's my problem with Reaper at the moment. I was really enjoying the Reaper queues and devastating on the Reaper queues before I stopped playing. And now everyone's on Reaper, so it just feels like such a gross, like... I don't know. There's something about that I really hate. Playing the thing that everyone's playing. So I need another build. I don't know. I've seen some interesting ones. I saw a really weird Condi Mesmer on Greatsword that I kind of want to try. I saw a really weird Soul Beast that was bursting people, but not with the classic combo with the one Wolfpack and stuff. Like, literally, he shot me and I took 10,000 damage from the auto attack. So I'm not sure what the setup or the gimmick of that is, because he did it out of spawn as well. So I can't imagine he used a Greatsword 5 to set up or something. Maybe he did. If you Greatsword 5 open air while in beast mode, what happens? Do you buff your own next attack? Anyway, literally, on a warrior, I took 10k damage from a regular attack. It was bonkers. And I had no idea. That was actually... I could have mitigated that because it was a forest game, but not good. Core Terra Necro. Yeah, I've seen some people trying that. I'm not really convinced by it at the moment. I have seen people. I like the Condi pressure from the Torment on the 5 now. So I don't know. I'm just in a weird place where none of the meta builds excite me at all. And so the addiction plateaued very, very quickly. Once I got a bit bored of the Gunflame Warrior, just because it wasn't really going play. It's great for like dead hour queues. I mean, that's the... I've got to do this PvP guide. I've got to teach people about like how to assess and understand PvP in terms of build efficacy, because there's a lot of really cheesy, stupid builds that you can get really good at, and they will be amazing as long as you're not queuing during prime time or you're only like a gold player. I mean, and that's it. There you go. That's meta. That's fine for you, for your bracket, for your band. I promise you can do stuff like you saw on that Game of the Day video with the kill shot thing. You can do it. It's very specific prime queues, and they are the best ones on both EU and NA, but it's very specific times of the day that it really matters. No. Play the ludicrously overpowered Hollow build. Play the ludicrously overpowered Firebrand. Play the ludicrously overpowered... What else would I consider? Reaper. I mean, Scourge I still think is really good. I think people have dismissed Scourge a bit too heavily right now. Especially playing as a Firebrand. Scourge is awesome, guys. It's so much more comfortable to support a Scourge, in my opinion. And the counter haze and stuff they offer. What a lot of people don't understand about a good Firebrand Scourge combo is how they actually keep each other alive through sort of the counter pressure. And Reaper does that too. But Scourge is so incapacitating with so much Condi reverse. And I know, obviously, Spite Reapers have got a shit ton of rip and the flat pressure. But there's something about Scourge that just feels so nice. The barrier applicator as well, right? So he's giving you barrier. He's cleansing you at the same time. It's a really, really strong duo. And you're never locked out of healing a Scourge. When you're healing a Reaper, there's these long windows where they're in shrouds. And you cannot... So if your F2 tome overlaps with their shroud, then you're just screwed. Especially in solo queue, they just will not... Very few people can comprehend how properly to get the support. And the way... So it's really good if they're in shroud and you're on F3, because you can toughness stack them, you can give them all the boons in the world, and you can cleanse them to an extent and, you know, help them with other things, but... The real problem with Reaper is that with the Scourge, you can just... Oh, it's so nice if they know how to play. It's really funny as well. Here's the other thing I've been doing on Firebrand. And this is not good play from me. Let me be very clear. But here's something funny I've been doing. I've been basically sitting on one of the DPS carries, like the Necro quite often is one of the Necros I'll pick. Often there's like multiple Reapers at this point. But, like, sit on them and force them to rotate. Force them to push a fight. Because if they sit around in a bad place, as so many of them do, I'm now realizing, if they don't push anything, if they don't know how to rotate, then it becomes blatantly obvious to them because there's going to be two people AFK on a map. Like, I'll stick on a node. I will stick on them that hard to the detriment of the rest of the team, forcing them to actually, you know, create some team fights that are favorable for us. Forcing them to... And you see so much shit, guys. You see, like... genuinely, maybe 1 in every 2 Necros spam all their marks for no reason on nodes. And some of those will do it directly within 1 dodge. So many of them just, like... They don't know how to get support. It's kind of gross, honestly. It's really funny because by doing this, and again, it's not good play from me. In some respects, kind of, but what's funny about it is you really just get to see how this one person plays, and it's depressing, man. It is depressing to see the standard. But hey, yeah. So that's kind of my week for PvP, I think, actually, at the moment. I had so much fun on that build, but now, I don't know, just for some reason, it's just evaporated because, I don't know. In particular, I guess what really frustrates me is when they become high-rated queues, and you know a lot of the names that are in the high-rated queues. I'm not saying that I'm chummy with all the people high-end of PvP. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, though, that you recognize those names. You recognize, that you don't want to piss people off, right? You don't want to feel like you've let people down. And you certainly, because this is PvP and PvP is all about ego, you certainly don't want to look like a noob, right? So there's something about like, oh, you get into the queue that's the really good game, and everyone's just annoyed that you're on that build. And obviously you're not going to be effective enough on that build. And it's too aspirational to be for luck to play that build. And you don't want to be that guy that everyone's sneering at as having dragged the quality of the PvP down or whatever. And I think that's what really, what kind of sucks about it, to be honest. So I need that you know, like strong thing there. Maybe Firebrand is enough, but I kind of want to play something DPS-y. That's always been my problem, right? I want to play something that's slightly off meta, but also something that's still really, really, really good. Because I don't want to just be a face in the crowd, you know, that's doing the exact same thing and is unable to think for themselves. And, you know, some metas I've managed to squeeze on by in that situation. Quite often it's been on some Ellie variant that people don't respect whatsoever. But you can give it a bit of respect by playing something. But, yeah, I don't know what that would be this meta. I've tried various things from the patch notes for what it's worth. I actually went so far as to try a Fresh Air game. Let's actually show you some gameplay here. On Unravel this week. So this got super buffed, right? It's an ammo skill, obviously, first of all. So you can do it twice. But this instantly refreshes your attunement swaps and your attunement cooldowns. Which is a very profound thing. And it also means you double attune automatically. So and it gives you boons this patch as well. So it does a load of things now. The boons aren't interesting. They are the standard Ellie boon associated with attunement boons, which is fine, and I think that's correct to do. They don't need to make them weird boons. But, yeah, you know, I look at this, and I cannot think of a way to make it work on any conceivable build. Here's the thing. In theory, this is a build that doesn't run Arcane or doesn't run Fresh Air to reset attunements, and you can rely on this. So maybe there's like some kind of pile drive build that would benefit from Unravel. But the problem then is you're also locking yourself away from certain things. So you might think, oh, okay, well, so use a build that's really strong for the skill 3, right? But on air, really the strongest skill 3 is the water one, defensively, right? Which is great. And you might think, oh, yeah, look, whoa, I can run a DPS build that unravels into geysers, and it runs the resurrection. But then that puts you back on Arcane, and it really just feels so useless on an Arcane build. It just does. And a Fresh Air build. So where's the middle ground? I was thinking like various Condi versions. Maybe there's space in some of these bruisery kind of duelist characters that run like the swords. I want to take another look at Dagger. I think Dagger may have a lot to offer. It keeps getting buffed and people are very slow to like assess and comprehend things. So maybe I'll look at Dagger again. But Dagger has just not got the defense that Sword does, so I don't know. It's likely going to be one of those situations where you're just not sustainable. Plus, I fucking hate playing that role. I hate side noding. Slowly getting... Because I played, like, quite marathon... Well, I don't know. Playing one game a day, side noding might be good. But that kind of... Just long, grinding fights for ages until hopefully a plus comes in. When things level out and people actually start getting good. I don't know, man. or make a small mistake when you get plussed and it's over, and that's where the strength of the sword is. So I don't know. Let's go back to character select. What else have I been playing? I kind of want to play Scourge. I've got a bit of an inkling, a bit of a thing for Scourge at the moment. I don't know why, but I sort of do. Soul Beast I'm kind of done with. I'm not interested in, and a lot of people are running this now as well. I don't believe in any Tempest variant at the moment, particularly, I must say, unfortunately. Very, 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 very punishing. It's kind of like an Ellie version of running Berserker instead of Spellbreaker. You know, you're just taking a step down for a slightly different flavor of achieving the same ends versus the Hollow kind of thing. Deadeye I'm completely uninterested in as well. I think it's a Mesmer variant. I think if there's any kind of slightly off meta thing that might be really fun, I think it would be a Mesmer build at the moment, actually. Alright, okay, so a lot of you in chat are going to be wondering, Jesus Christ, why is he talking so much about this? This stream is not about PvP, it's about the story stuff. He hasn't even done the intro yet. The entire reason I went so deep off that was to avoid having to interact with chat because of the previous joke. I hope one or two of you out there appreciated my commitment to the bit, and the absurdity of it became fun again in the end. Anyway... yeah, alright, so let me actually see. Hello, chat. This is not pre-recorded. It's real. I'm actually live. Oh my god, there's been quite a lot. Oh shit, I did interact with chat. I interacted with Mad Minds on Core Terra Necro comment. Oh, Georges is here as well. Hello, Georges. Actually, I see a few PvPers. Valen's here as well. Let me keep scrolling up here. Alright. I'm going to quickly respond, then we're going to do the intro, and then we'll actually play what the stream is meant to be about. Which is continuing along the story. Now, what I also want to do is talk about the cutscenes and stuff that we saw at the end of the last episode, because there's a lot to get through. We can do the story journal recap there, though, so that's fine. All right. All you'd have to do is seed chat with some prepared comments for you to read off to make it look real. I know, right? I mean, I was making a joke, but you could genuinely do that. Do people appreciate that? I mean, I kind of want to do it as a proof of concept, because... it is kind of scary. People have... I mean, I have very, very low respect for anyone who's successful on social media platforms, and I tend to think that everyone's being duplicitous in some way. And it would not surprise me even remotely to find that some wanker arsehole with far more success than they deserve is actually doing that to their audience. It would not surprise me even remotely. But hey. WP, I've decided to write Ben Lubar's non-judgmental fractal guide for complete idiots. Ben, is that serious? That sounds cool, man. More guides, the better. I was going to go off on another rant there, but I'll keep looking at chat. You know, it's the weekend when you finally get the WP stream notifications. I'm glad, man. Yeah, hey, Georges. WP's a balanced part of every weekend breakfast. Breakfast, man. Come on. It's like... the most miserable day ever right now, and it will be dark by the end this is over. Do I want a Deadeye build? Oh, are you actually offering one? I don't know, man. Aren't they all just kind of cheesy and I did enjoy Rifle back in, like, Season 10, where, like, basically no one was running it. I mean, that's such a big thing to me, and I don't know why. Maybe it's a lack of confidence that if I'm running the mirror spec, that I will truly shine. Do you know what I mean? As something exceptional. No, that's not the right way of putting it. Here's the right way of putting it. If I'm running the exact same spec as someone else and just doing worse, then it's obvious I'm bad. There you go. That's how we phrase it. Maybe that's what I'm scared of. So you play like something slightly fringe, so that, hey, if you're not doing that well, whatever, man, it's cool. It's cool. You know, he's not even playing for meta. He's doing well. It's not even meta. It's fine, right? Free of judgment. It's good. What tends to be my favorite type of builds? What role? Honestly, I like the whole gambit except long-ass 1v1ing builds with, you know, just minutia of a play, stacking on top of minutia of a play on top of minutia. I did, one of these seasons, play totally standard Spellbreaker, and it was very, very, very easy, to be honest. And I did enjoy side-noting on that, but that was all. And you kind of know that eventually people will... you will eventually... queue in where someone really gives you a run for the money, and I think the stress of it, I rather being able to just fucking decap and leave, just be able to bail, just continue rotating and play sort of the broader game rather than those little bits. So the fact that Potato Can moves is actually pretty unnerving. I actually have a new one. Let's swap that here today, because it's been a while since I've really changed it. We're still on the same selection here from Kairos, who is still a legend. Some of these are a little bit wonkier. I don't know. I don't remember. No, we did that on the raid stream, the Star Wars one, didn't we? Have we done this one out in this garden? The potato is very small on this, which is why I'm a bit put off by it. But it is there, so we'll do that one. It's a nice, pretty picture that makes us pretend that it's still summer, right? If you haven't already talked about it, have you seen the leaked footage of Amazon's MMO? Actually, no, I haven't, but I have seen that lots of people are in alpha. I'm getting hundreds of thousands of views when I talk about New Worlds. I'm at a real interesting moment here because New World is not necessarily the thing I really give a damn about broadening the channel out into, but it seems like a pretty easy gig being a variety MMO gamer. So I don't know, and I don't know about the kind of people that those videos are entertaining to. So I might do a third one. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. Between the two videos, I'm closing in on 300,000 views just for talking very vaguely and very briefly about New World in about half an afternoon's work. Like, that's how desperate the MMO scene is, and that's the kind of situation we're in. But I don't know. I feel a bit iffy about it, so I'm not sure. I haven't seen the leaked footage in the first place. Can you see how many people use certain skills? I'd imagine Unravel has maybe 3 people. I'd love to see skill stats too, actually, yeah, because I reckon that influences balance design if they do have that. You know, they might be like, oh, no one's really using this in this format, so let's buff it up. You do it purely based on something like that. It'd probably be a bit tricky to do things like that because the spammability of the skill would affect the amount of times you're seeing it be used and may produce like a weird result where you don't really know if it's just that it's OP or... Do you get what I mean? There's a lot of variables to consider with something like that. Balancing purely from numerics. That's why it's a job after all. Necros are sexy in every size and form. I'm sure they are. In before we get uninterrupted Menzies chat. Why do you think I was going to start talking about Menzies? I'm so lost as to that joke. What is he talking about, says Elemus. Look, it's something that only the people here right at the beginning, the real fans, would get, alright? That's what it's all about. It's about giving a payoff to the actually dedicated people. None of you bastards that get here 10 minutes after I go live. Like, what's that? It's people who are actually dedicated. They're on time to see the intro, alright? They get rewarded. They're the real fans. I'm going to be a snob about all the rest of you. Do I think Rifle get Deadeye is good in Fractals T4? To be honest, I got no idea what's going on with Fractals anymore because of the chrono changes. Apparently hit them really hard. I've got not a sausage, man. I seriously doubt that Deadeye is that good. You want something that can cleave super with a rifle. You want something that can cleave super well, produce boon uptime, produce mitigation in the way of CCs, blinds for trash mobs, break bar damage, shit like that. And I'm not sure how much a rifle Deadeye offers all of those things that spam in other classes doesn't. It wouldn't be a merit spec. No one's running my build. All right, Valen, what's the Deadeye build? Do you want to send me a link? I'll have a look at it. What weapon set is it? It would be fresh to play a thief. It's been a long time since I've thiefed in PvP. People probably don't associate me with it at all anymore. But the truth is, I have played a reasonable amount of thief. I played way back before Path of Fire came out, though. It was during early Heart of Thorns days, I think, was when I was last doing it. It's just so fun to rotate on a thief. And yeah, I believe back then I was playing DP. It was sort of the closing days of DP, right before SD became all the rage. So just a pretty standard DP experience, but I really enjoyed it. It's just certain aspects of Thief that are really fun. They just afford you... There's always nice little plays you can keep making. That's what I enjoy about Mesmer as well. Particularly port-oriented build. It's summer in Portugal for real. It's way too hot for the damn season. Please send some UK card. Dude, I'd happily trade. This is miserable. It's making me miserable. There are traits that have like a 0.0001% use rate. Looks at Brave Stride. It's funny because I was excited about Brave Stride when Path of Fire came out. If you remember, this was when Path of Fire was introduced, and when I was doing all the pre, you know, the press for the expansion, and I did the post show and all of that stuff. I was snooping at the traits, and I noticed that there had been Core Balance come in as well at the same time as the new set of elite specs, and I saw Brave Stride there. And then they announced it a bit later. Anyone at the post show might remember that. Alright, what else we got? I showed up as soon as I got the notification. I'm so inserted, so bullied. Real fans are here an hour before so they can tell you you're late when WP starts just 1 minute after. You know, quite often, if that ever happens, I'm not even late. It's just that there's a delay of a few seconds, and it might tick over to the 1 minute thing. But I nearly always start on the dot right at the time. I'm early way more often than I'm late. If we really count the 01, the late thing. You have a choice between DP or SP rifle. Dude, sword, pistol, rifle. Oh, that's the oh shit, what's his name? Anyway, that's is that the pistol whip variant you were talking about before, right? I did play a couple of games on that, but I sucked it and never gave myself the chance to actually find some muscle memory and whatnot. Do you think we're gonna lose to Kralkatorrik? How would you feel about losing a battle like that Destiny's Edge did? If we lost to him, I would just the beat of the moment I wouldn't be as intrigued by as the message that would send to the community about the length of this story and the time for a resolution to it. That's what, because if we lose to Kralkatorrik, I would be way more interested in thinking about, holy shit, when will we beat him then? Will we ever rid the world of the Elder Dragons in Guild Wars 2? Like, what time scale are the devs working on? Do they want us working on the Elder Dragons a decade from now? Because if we lose to Kralkatorrik, then, you know, we're on track for that, you know? And I think that what it's signaling underneath is what I would be most preoccupied by. Or to the extent that I'm not even sure how I'd feel just about the thing in and of itself. That would depend on how attached to the characters they make me. You know, how much space they give that tragedy, all that kind of stuff, you know. And I have no idea how well they'll do that. I'm still very slowly gaining more confidence in their ability to tell a really good story, but it's very, very gradual. I am a very, very, very cynical person about it in general. So yeah, I don't know. It's time for Jahai, says Doug. So we are being graced here, guys, by the amazing Jahai, who did that awesome edit on the channel this week. And I really hope you enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it, because what I want is those videos to be my most viewed videos. And I want that so that Doug will be happy to do lots more of them. And for the first time in my life, ever, in 8 years, ever, I'll be in that cushy ass position where I get to coast off of the hard, you know, working efforts and the sweat of another man's brow. But no, I love the video. Dark, I gotta tell you, man, I listened to that with a few of the guys that were on the raid, actually on the stream, and I showed them the video and got them to talk about how they felt of it, and I even listened to some of them, like, watching the video live, right? So it was their voice, and it's a novelty for them, you gotta understand, to an extent. I don't want to put words or thoughts or feelings in their mouth, but it's a bit of a novelty, you know, having your voice up on a platform like that with thousands of people to watch and stuff. And they really enjoyed it, Doug. They really, 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 really enjoyed it. You know, your editing, not really the event itself, but the way you edited it had people constantly laughing, and it was nice. I still haven't even seen the second half. I still haven't even seen it, but I've heard about enough things, and I've seen clips such as the what no Kadeen speeding up and so on. You know, but I've still not actually fully seen it. Yeah, the Hitzer build, that's it. I kept wanting to say him raving, and I was like, it's not him raving. It's a different H player. It was Hitzer, that's it. You still value that then? That was a while ago I tried that one. If Living World Season 5 is going to be Living World Season 3 styled, let's go to this place. Krauk will probably still be alive at the end of Living World Season 4. Yeah, I mean, if we really dive into it, I can see that, because Krauk beats us, maybe. You know, it might be a really good thing to go for. It would be quite a shrewd idea on the part of the writers to try and beat us back a bit. I know we died and then came back to life, and because you kind of have to, and they can't keep you dead for a really long period of time in the game, not without real commitment to phasing and stuff that makes you a ghost on the overworld or something. I know we died recently, but the devs have really got a job to do. And it kind of frustrates me because it's kind of a shitty thing for the community to criticize, because it's almost impossible to avoid this when every few months there has to be a new thing to deal with and we're going to come out on top sort of thing. But they've got to present this feeling that the commander doesn't always win. So they kill us off in POF, they have us with various failures and stuff. But there's still that sensation, and people say in the community, I think it's a bit shitty, but people say, oh, we never fail, we're too good, we're too perfect, blah, blah, blah. And, like, they're completely unsatisfiable to that end, you know. Not unless you have, like, 10 patches back-to-back where you're just getting the shit kicked out of you, which would be awful gameplay, hideous pace of the story and stuff. But even then, if the devs did that, you'd get some, like, fair weather player who returns after a year, misses that bit, and starts whining about how we always succeed again. So, maybe it's a terrible idea to cater to that mindset. However, what the devs basically are doing is playing a game of giving the commander success, but also giving the commander setbacks, or sneakily giving us successes that feel like setbacks, such as, you know, we lose an important character along the way. They're always juggling that. They're always walking that tightrope. And what might be interesting to curtail the hubris of our group, and by extension the player base, it might be interesting to give us, I use the word shrewd, that same feeling that Destiny's Edge had. Remember? To basically parallel the novel. And I know very few people have read the novel and appreciate the novel and you know, even have it on their minds since Personal Story and the stuff ended. But to kind of have a repeat could be really interesting. First, obviously, to hold a mirror to the past, to think of ourselves truly as the new Destiny's Edge, Dragon's Watch having gone forward. But think about some of the individuals that might be there. You know, a certain someone returns this patch. I won't say who, but because I don't want to spoil it because we're on the story streams at the moment. But a certain someone will return by the end of this patch. And, you know, we've got Ritlock there. Now, it's very interesting to think of these people from Destiny's Edge with us in Dragon's Watch, taking on the dragon again. And if we mess up, if we're basically like the new heir, right? We're the leader. We have the job of command. We make the tactics and whatnot. And if we mess up, just like Air did back then, what would that mean for Ritlock and his perspective of Logan? And I mean, the Ritlock-Logan bromance stuff feels deader than the dodo at the moment. But you could maybe have some interesting tangents that come out of that. I really think that there's a good writing meeting in that, just that whole concept. So yeah, you know, Season 4, we get beaten back. Our hubris is just like that of Destiny's Edge's. Excuse to get away from these specific Dragon's Watch characters. Go back to the detective and her piece of meat on the side, as I know them, also known as Cass and Jory. You know, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Stay hydrated, but I'm being told to stay hydrated, and I've not even really... What time is it? It's half an hour in. It's now got to the point where I shouldn't do the intro, should I? Do you think we'll get more... I'm starting to be discerning about comments, guys, here, because you're making me talk a bit too much. Do you think we'll get a bit... get more space-time anomalies on the next map? A lot of people think of it as a really good opportunity for the game to explore untold stories. I'm personally nervy about that, because I don't want to keep experiencing subpar solutions. I would rather, if I get more lore on Prime Ore, for example, I would rather that I get it in an abstract way, such as purely via text, so my imagination can fill in the blanks and I get a really lovely experience, or it's a well-budgeted, large aspect of a patch. I don't want all these little mini pockets that barely provide anything but rob you of your imagination at the same time. That's what I want to avoid. I talked a lot about that on a previous stream. So I think they can do it, and I think it's good for like masteries and stuff, but I'm cautious of the over-application of that technique. I highly doubt we'll kill a dragon in Living World. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if it wasn't done in an expansion. So, Lugos, you're like me from the Season 3 days, me during Heart of Thorns, me during Season 1 and 2, obviously. But I disagree with you now, man. I really do. The course of season 3 changed my mind on that. The company line, which is the god thing, really. You have to focus on the company line all the time. They are banding over the table and letting you do what you want, okay, to convince you that Living World is good. And I think that basically we will see. Sorry about that. Horrible mental imagery there. I don't know why. I don't know where this stuff comes from. I basically, I think that we will essentially, we could do big story things. You know, look at what season 3 did with Primordus and Jormag. Look at what this season did with Joko, who is, you know, a large scale antagonist. Not you know, in terms of power levels within the universe, not on par, but story wise, certainly on par, right? And framing wise, he's on par as one of the big antagonists of this universe, and we took him out in Living World. I think we can do it in Living World. I really think we can. So, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't poo-poo it instantly. Well, if we get killed by Krauk and then we ascend and travel through the mist, and that they could go anywhere with that. Well, my answer to that is kind of similar with the anomaly thing. I don't think anything too major like that. I don't think us ascending and spending the rest of our time in the mist is actually a good idea. I don't even think it would have been a good idea for Guild Wars 1 Utopia. I think that they would have had real... is scope the right word? You need like a touchstone of what is this game? What thematically ties and binds this game? So that your audience has a specific understanding of it. And I really think that's important. And for Guild Wars 2, Tyria at least is a unifying element. Right? Tyria in a state of struggle to do with the Elder Dragon cycle, specifically. But you start taking us into the mist and stuff, maybe you still have that touchstone of, hey, it's all about the Elder Dragon struggle. And maybe it still works, so maybe I'm talking out my ass. I'll leave it there. If we lose to Krauk, it would be a good setup to force our character. Look at this. I talk for ages about PvP. We got some chat out of it. And then we start talking a bit about story, and the chat goes wild. If we lose to Krauk, it would be a good setup to force our characters out of Tyria and set up a new continent for Living World Season 5 and the next expansion. I don't want a new continent in Living World Season 5 either. I think that exploring more current areas would be good. That is, of course, if it's a real Season 5, not Season 1. We've only had one female primary antagonist in Guild Wars 2 ever. No, that's not true. Scarlet was a primary female antagonist. Varesh also was a primary female antagonist. Thought those instantly. There must be some others. Let's see. I don't really remember Eye of the North that well. Winds of Change had Reiko, who was a primary female antagonist. And she was a fucking bitch. She was the best of all of them, to be honest. Winds of Change. Shout out to the Guild Wars Beyond crew. You did the best one. Who else? I don't know. I mean, there's not actually that many products to pick from if it has to be really, really big ticket character. And what? We already got a lot of them there straight away. Kind of lost in this episode. Oh, no spoilers, Rain Pumpkin. No spoilers, man. I really like the fact Oring doesn't listen to us in this episode. Yeah, that's cool. We'll talk about that in a minute. Is that Thanos? Oh, what, my warrior. Sorry, this is... Now you can look at my mule character, the Varatan Kois. There you go. Lovely. I could set this guy up as a core necro. I'd love to see these space-time anomalies make it into current events and have a couple open up around core Tyria maps that show old lore events like the Faux Fire, the White Mantle, the War for Lion's Arch. I'm glad you said that. I agree with that, Lugos, definitely. I thought you were going to talk about Season 1 stuff there when I was going to be really upset with you. But no, I think that's a cool idea. And you were also very clever there in that you mixed some stuff that was depicted in Guild Wars 1 and stuff in the 250-year gap. So yeah, you're right. I still want pre-Guild Wars 1 lore. The richest point of this setting for human history is definitely Adalbern's youth. That's such an interesting kind of idea for the world. Why am I having a breakdown? What do you mean? Did I have a stroke and just suddenly start gibbering and making no sense? They showcase they can wholesale drop in Heart of Thorns maps in the middle of a desert map. They have so many assets, so I wonder why the Vizier's Tower just had the basic golden tower asset from ore in the middle of desert assets. I can imagine being super creative reuse of assets throughout different game modes. Yeah, I would think maybe some Tyria style stuff. There's actually, if you go to the Auric Basin Guildhall, the Hollow or whatever, I can't even remember what's it called right now, the Lost Hollow. You if you break out of that and go really far away, you'll actually see like a lot of those big Orient arches just in sort of different colors, and they're kind of newer looking and stuff. And people have speculated that the architecture it's more than a coincidence that it looks similar. I would have expected some of that stuff too. I think you do a little bit of a discredit though, because the devs did give that lovely response, basically explaining, hey, I think it is a unique model. I think they did make it specifically for this. It's just not very exciting. Obviously, it's not very good. And I guess it just means they didn't have very much time. How's my fish better? Well, it's sort of. He started eating again, which is the main thing I was really concerned about. But he's super lethargic. He just sits in the same place and that's not healthy better activity. That's not what he used to be like. That's not what my previous better used to be like. He just sits there. There's no like aggression at mirrors. There's nothing. He's just sitting in the same place all day. And I can get him to move now by feeding him after he's done one course of antibiotics. I'm wondering if I just need to repeat the whole thing and just do it again. So I'm going to do a big water change and sort that out soon. Thanks for the question. Should we all start lulling to bring out grumpy old man WP? Oh my god, let me say, alright, if people don't know, I did a video this week where I blatantly said that seeing lull typed, I don't mind the emotes so much on chat, but seeing the word lull typed out really aggravates me. And where this comes from is the only people, when I was like a teenager, and in my adolescence, the only people who typed lull, L-U-L, were complete fucking losers. They were such morons. And it just, whenever I see it as an adult now, I like have that association of the kind of people that type that. And it may just be a very specific like little window of my life where it just so happened that 4 to 6 different people that were like, they were always like the cringiest, like most basement dwelly kind of people, and they were the lullers, right? Like, and it was like, oh, you spend too much time on the internet kind of thing. Those are the people, and now I get it's different, right? And it's, you know, it's the emo and it's all that stuff. So anyway, it really aggravates me to see it typed out. It's also that thing of acting like everywhere's Twitch chat. Not everywhere's Twitch chat. If you're on a game forum, if you're on a YouTube comment section, if you're on a subreddit, if you're elsewhere, don't talk like you're amongst your 15-year-old friends. It just, and it's my neurosis, it's me being a dick, and it's me being closed-minded, and it's me being a horrible person, and I fully accept all of those things. But it came out a little bit. I was chatting with Boots in one of the videos, and I was going to edit it out, but when I watched it in editing, I thought it was funny, so I left it in, where I basically said to... Boots said lull out loud, and I said, ugh, that aggravates me, and he went lull, lull, lull to troll me, right? And so anyway, it ended up in the video, and I wanted it in the video because I thought it was funny, blah, blah, blah. Here's what aggravated me after that, though. Obviously, everyone started typing lol in the YouTube comments, but it wasn't enough people to make it really funny or a big joke in the comments where it was getting spammed. A bit like right now, right? People are spamming lol. And that's fine. It's like a happy little thing in the moment. What really irritated me extra in the YouTube comments is they felt malicious because they weren't frequent enough. So you'd get like some 15-year-old type lull in my YouTube comments, and I was like, I rolled my eyes. I was like, well, obviously they did that. Yeah, like, it's just so... I don't like people being so predictable. That's what really gets to me. This is what I hate that the world is... That people... anyway, so, like, one guy types it, and then, like, maybe, like, an hour later, after, you know, 50 other comments... well, no, not that many, but, you know, a lot of comments, and then there'd be another lull. And whenever I'd see that next lull, I'd think, you dick. You dick, you're just trying to annoy me. That's not funny. And it's not creative either. I got really close to like the 4th or 5th person that did this random lull that appeared. I just really wanted to type to them, you know, you're not funny. You're not original either. Tons of other little children already typed that, you idiot. I really wanted to type that, but obviously I'm professional. I stand back, you know, I just leave if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, all right? I'm a big believer in that, a very big believer. So, you know, I didn't say it, but I would, you know, the joke here is I know how pathetic I am getting worked up about it, and then I'm even more pathetic for getting worked up about the predictable YouTube comments later. Listen, guys, be creative. Come on, look. On the internet, I know you're empowered to say whatever you think and whatever you feel at a whim, but trust me, there's a very good chance if it's so lowbrow, there's a very good chance someone else has already said it. And believe it or not, whether you get a little love heart next to your comment on YouTube or not, I do read nearly all of them, unless they're very highly trafficked videos. You know, maybe a couple slip through, but I'm constantly refreshing, always look every single one, especially on the Wooden Potatoes 2 videos, right? Every single one. So trust me, I will have already seen someone type 3 letters out. Congratulations, very smart. So, yeah, anyway. Oh, guys, come on, I've got to start the stream. I've got a full page of comments now. Do you really think they did Joko justice in the living world? I think yes, but I wish he'd had more episodes to an extent. I think within the episodes we got, my answer to that is yes, but he wasn't budgeted enough time. So any injustice done to Joko is not actually to do with their capability as storytellers right now. It's to do with the amount of story debt they had to pay during this season, thus causing them to get rid of Joko early. But if they didn't have so much baggage, they would, if they had more of a clean slate, which is what I'm hoping they're setting themselves up for next expansion. If they have more of a clean slate, I don't see any issues or any doubts, to be honest, for any future antagonist. I'm really thirsty too. Play some PvP, says Fat Larry. Well, listen, Fat Larry, once we're done with these story streams and the Living World streams, I'm throwing a vote up again, and if people want to see PvP, then they're welcome to it. I kind of have an idea maybe for one series, but I don't know. I know in large people are going to tune out, and I don't know. I'm not sure. I want like some interesting, meaningful progression. I was thinking about maybe going for all the llamas or something, but I mean that's not that fun, is it? It just means stacking up a ton of tickets, but aren't they only from the monthlies? So that may not be a series. I was also thinking of doing an achievement hunter series because I'm only at 34k, right? Oh, 35k really. But there's so many achievements I haven't gone for since Path to Fire came out. So I was thinking of doing like, but I don't know. That might be terrible as well. Anyway, that's all ages away, and it will be up for a vote for people. What else we got? I made a list, and we've had 5 primary... Oh, God, you're still talking about the antagonists. You're being very dogmatic about your classification there, Ben, but I think that's unfair, because obviously Oh, wait, what were you talking about? Protagonists instead of antagonists? No, we were talking about antagonists. I don't know whether it's fair, just because you've deemed some of these females as not prominent enough. I think that exists in your mind, not in reality. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a time with a new Fractal with a living story episode since we're in the mist, most luckily. Yeah, a bit like Deepstone, but no, not Deepstone. What am I talking about? The other one that they added. I think that because they're leapfrogging releases, I don't think we'll see a Fractal tied to this. I think we'll see a Fractal tied to the next one. Maybe. I don't know. Speaking of assets, didn't Season 3 have a ton of new assets? I've noticed that Season 4 seems to have a much lower asset budget. Bloodstone Fen, for example, was wild. Bloodstone Fen visually looked very different, but the amount of actually new assets there, I think, was probably quite low. It was just the color that they set up. You know, it was generic jungle stuff, generic white mantle architecture, which had already been built for the raid. It just might have felt very new and fresh to you because you hadn't really... interacted maybe if you hadn't raided very much. There were new things, obviously. Every patch has some new things though, and I don't know. I get what you mean. Season 4 maps don't feel that divergent, but I wonder whether it's because they didn't have to. At the end of the day, we wanted more Elona, right? And what Elona is a specific refined aesthetic. So, you know, they've played with it, but do they have to actually deviate that much? It might have a lower budget, but then you see stuff like, you know, there's new enemies and shit coming in constantly, like branded centaurs and stuff. I don't know. You might be right. I would just hope that there's a good reason for it. The next expansion will be, you know, gained what budget was lost. I've been thinking a lot this week about what's next for ArenaNet. You know, what next product will we see? I'm thinking of making a video on it because I'm becoming increasingly convinced that we might see an announcement. between season 4 and 5. You know, we're trying to grasp at straws, figure out why it is that there's going to be that line in the sand there. And I'm sure they'll actually have lots of reasons for why they're going from one season to another. But I'm wondering if they'll seize upon the opportunity to reveal something new. I'm very much in mind of how season 2 ended. Because it was unexplored territory. It was very prominent and wild and different, really, because they'd been so close-lipped about the idea of an expansion in the first place. Now, I was privy to that information early and all those things, so, you know, I can't profess to be purely from the community standpoint, but the sense of what the announcement was, no matter when I was given that detail, is the same. It was a game that didn't look like it was doing X-Packs, and then it was, and then we saw, like, this fascinating new cutscene and stuff. I wonder if there'll be, like, a side branch game ancillary to Guild Wars announced at the end of season 4 that maybe they can story tie in or something. Like, think of this. An anomaly shows us the Guild Wars. Like, Adelbern's Youth, just like I said before. We see a side branch to Adelbern's Youth briefly and then leave. But when the episode ends, there's like a big fancy cutscene, a stream announcement, or a convention announcement or something like that that just happens to be a week away. Guild Wars Tyria announced a single-player RPG or a card game or whatever. You know, I can see that, you know. All right, scrolling through all your lulz. What kind of person do you expect to watch someone not play a video game on the internet? Yeah, I don't... Listen. Let me just be very, very, very clear. I may joke about it, and I may be very honest and open about my silly little things, but I genuinely don't think lowly of my audience. I think as lowly of you guys as I would think of myself, all right? That is the situation that I'm in. So any judgment that I would ever jokingly... honestly jokingly throw at Twitch chat, calling you all 15-year-olds, calling you all immature, calling you basement dwellers, any of that. I would only ever do that fully with the knowledge that the nerd that's behind the camera is all those things and more, right? So, you know, it would be more of a reflection of me, of anything else, and that would be the joke. You're not at the expense of that joke ever. And besides, I'm keeping it generic, right? You insult a collection instead of an individual, and nobody really feels stung by it, so you get away with it. You see, it's good little tip if you want to spread hate on the internet and on Reddit and stuff. Just keep it generic. Just talk about those people, right? Not individuals, just those people, and you can peddle your bigotry and whatever you like. It's good. Naturally, you guys start writing lol. You know, you're giving WP even more reasons to call you losers. No, I get. Obviously, I mean, this is way too on the nose to be mad about it. Obviously, people are gonna do that. People are just having fun. And the people on YouTube are just having fun as well. All right, scroll in. Sorry, I'm skipping some comments here, guys. You're typing too much. Lol, Ruffle LeMayo. You're not original, Teo Horse. WP is the oldest living millennial alive. What does that mean? You stupid, unoriginal child. We need more angry WP grown-up voice. Is that a voice of mine now, is it? To me, it sounds like they, by default, think about Elder Dragons as male, which is a common thing, in my opinion, and then tried to wriggle themselves out of it. Did they? I don't remember ever getting an impression that they're gendered at all. I can't honestly say I've cared if they're gendered or thought very deeply about it, so maybe I'm wrong. And I definitely do. I am one of these people that definitely does seem to... I kind of default to just think... I use a lot of male terms as sort of generic terms. Maybe the devs did that at some point. I don't know. WP wants everything to be clever. Yeah, I like a good, you know, an actual well-reasoned discussion. I'm not scared of that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I like how we got some actual high horsing going on here in the comments here. This is good. Have you ever seen anyone say UBX? I don't know. No, I don't think so. What's UBX? This is one of those things I'm out of touch with, like dabbing, right? Can you teach me about UBX, please? Is that cool? Can you teach me how to do the Fortnite emote dance? That's important. I now gather at social scenarios if I want to be hip and down with the kids. Any new classes builds you've been enjoying post-balance? Well, the funny thing is, this Gunflame ridiculousness isn't even... It's got nothing to do with the balance patch. Literally nothing. By the way, Might Makes Right is really good for this. It's really, really, really good. It helps you cleave the bodies much, much better. In the queues where you're actually permitted to play it. But not really, aside from that. Most of the things I tried, like I was talking earlier about trying an Unravel Weaver. I'm not going to go into all the story again. If you go rewind to the start of the stream, you can hear I've talked about it a lot, Mjolnir. Wait. What's this? Only 34k? Only 35k? You're funny, WP? I don't even remember. When did I say 34k? And what in reference to? I don't know. Achievements would be great. Oh, my achievement score. Well, that's not that high. People are up to like 38 now. I'm like a good 3,000 off. You know, I used to be skirting the top 100, and I don't think I'm anywhere near it anymore. I mean, I just don't put effort into it anymore. I just haven't for a long time. Most of that's left over from a long time ago. Oh my god, if that's talking about achievements, that was a long time ago. I think there's too much content in Guild Wars 2, changed my mind. I don't know whether I can, because if your standpoint is... it's not necessarily a question of content, but it's a question of direction and focus. And I do think that's really bad for a game, and I think it's one of the reasons MMOs struggle, in that they try to cater to too much at once, and they cannot in equal measure for everything. So the expectations of your little niche eventually will not be fulfilled well enough, and then you're sort of done for. And you end up hating the MMO, and like Guild Wars is a perfect example of that. So it's kind of like there's too much content. Like, I genuinely believe Guild Wars 2 would be better if World versus World didn't exist. The community would be more cohesive, expectations would be more in line, word of mouth would be much better about the game. The game would be better if World versus World, and it's not that, that's not me hating on World versus World. The game would be better if PvP didn't exist. PvP would be better if PvE didn't exist. Raiding would be better if Living World didn't exist. If it was all in one bucket, it was providing that specific experience. Now, you probably couldn't make as much money on the gem store, and your overall, and it is more risky as well, I guess. I'm not going to say your overall population would be lower if everything was just thrown into one specific style of gameplay. I don't think that that's necessarily true at all. But it's riskier because if you burn people on that one idea and that's all you've ever offered, and you don't get it good straight away, and I think that you can have problems. But, you know, a lot of very successful games are very refined experiences, and MMOs seem to have lost that ability to be a successful game and a refined game at the same time, which is why there's so much toxicity for the brand and the style of game that it is. So, I mean, it kind of comes part and parcel of the too much content thing. Please, please, please don't be a mobile game. Yeah, I mean, I've rolled my eyes saying it. But it could be, you know, Guild Wars 1 roots. Hopefully a new IP. Yeah, Gears to Gnomes. I will accept a new IP that is a mechanically spiritual successor to Guild Wars 1. Here's something I will say very clearly that ties these two discussions together. I mean, I really mean what I'm about to say here. I don't think if we saw a Guild Wars 3... or a side game, there will be competitive aspects to it. I don't think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see a TPVP, and I don't think we'll see a World versus World. Of the two, I think World versus World, Realm PvP, whatever, is the slightly more likely to exist in a new product. But I think that the devs would look to do something much more refined, and I think that those aspects will be deleted. And I think this is what I wanted to make the video on, so great, now we're doing it on the stream. But basically, I think that there cannot be a Guild Wars 3, is basically what I'm positing here. I don't think there can be a Guild Wars 3, and the reason I don't think there can be a Guild Wars 3 is because the Guild Wars name as a brand has baggage. It has competitive PvP expectation baggage. As much as you may think this game was a failure in satisfying that, it has World versus World expectation baggage as much as you may think that this game was a failure at that. It also, for what it's worth, does have various fringes of PvE as baggage as well, various formats of that, but I think the devs could probably get by and deal with. I mean, the amount of baggage is kind of phenomenal in terms of community expectations about how betas and special events and all kinds of stuff would get ran, and I think that cripples them. And I would not be surprised whatsoever to see that there cannot be a Guild Wars 3. Purely on that. They do a different name. It could be the same genre, but they do a different MMO. Or, you know, a different IP, a different starter game altogether, still interior. They can do that, but getting away from the name Guild Wars, I think will be extremely liberating for them. And I think they will do it. I don't think we'll ever see a Guild Wars 3 just on that alone. Beyond that as well, I would even go so far as to say they probably won't do a sequel MMO because all it does is cannibalize your old one, as Blizzard learned with Titan or whatever. So you know we've chewed on that a few times, and I really think that that's where I land in the end. I don't think we'll see a Guild Wars 3. That's where I'm sitting right now. I don't think we need one either, by the way. We could not having a Guild Wars 3, you can still have games set interior, but it won't have that title. It was a shit title anyway, let's be honest. And they will distance themselves. They will hold their arms out and say no. When's the next wine review stream? If people donate like enough money to get some really nice wines, then I will do it. But the only reason the whiskey one happened was because people were really nice and generous, and it just happened one day. I'm not gonna spend either that, or every single person here right now on this stream goes to Patreon, signs up at one of the tiers, and stays there for at least more than 1 month instead of just, you know, leaving straight away, so I can actually live comfortably. Then I'll buy some wine. But I'm not in that position, I'm afraid. It was fun though. Plot twist: WP has low self-esteem as an immature basement-dwelling 15-year-old. If I'm 15 today, then that makes me 7 when the LP started. I just hit puberty really early. Let's see. Sometimes NPCs say he, and sometimes NPCs say it for Kralkatorek. Interesting. Well, you could put that down to what's the word? They're unreliable narrators, right? Just because a random NPC genders it, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily that way. It's just in the mind of that NPC. Interestingly, Jormag, Zaitan, and possibly Morgemoth, depending on if the dream connected to the mist anyway, already had some access to the mist. Jormag wanted to access the mist better. Zaitan pulled souls from the mist, and Morgemoth spread through the dream. Yeah, I guess Zaitan did pull souls through the mist. Cossage, is it your opinion that Razor died in Awe, the Cataclysm, went to the mist, and then was dragged back? How could you say something so controversial yet so brave? What are you talking about? What? Oh god, we got Rock here as well. Raid is the only niche we need. Why is it? This is such a... I need to actually play the story. Sorry guys, I'm scrolling really quickly here. Unless you've got an amazing comment, I'm not going to respond to you anymore. So here you go. Be creative, type more than a lull. Didn't they once plan to have some sort of mobile app? Yeah, years ago. I mean, that's the kind of thing, right? Like, that was such a There was like one blog post about it ever through all the years. One little blog. It was cancelled pre-release. You know, we're talking before 2012. We're talking about a blog post that existed in the minds of the community for maybe like 7 or 8 months. And here in 2018, people are saying, oh, didn't they have the plan for that? The interactive experience app that they once upon a time, ages ago, talked about will have nothing to do with any kind of mobile or handheld platform product they're now working on. I promise. It's kind of weird because I recall them saying maintaining Guild Wars on PvP become untenable because there were so many game modes. Yeah, here we are in Guild Wars 2 where they're again struggling to maintain multiple game modes. Seems they didn't really learn. Yes, Terrors. Well done. Absolutely. A brilliant observation, and that is truly one of the issues at the heart of Guild Wars, I think, and a long time has been. You see that this time it's not so much PvP variety that's crippled the mode, but PvE to a sense. But I think that MMOs just have to struggle with that in general. It's one of the reasons why Heart of Thorns doing Stronghold as a new game type was such a bad decision. There were a couple of really terrible decisions at Heart of Thorns where essentially the devs seem to completely forget everything the sequel stood for. And most people saying, oh yeah, the grind, remember the grind? No, you're wrong, not the grind. I'm talking about, like, there were some balanced philosophies they came out with that seemed really smart. Like, they were like, okay, we're going to keep some things pure in this game. In Guild Wars 1, you could adjust cast time, energy cost, recharge, everything. It was all manipulatable through primary, secondary, profession, and it completely broke the game and made balance way too hard. Now, they could have fixed that in two ways. Go to a standard format execution, of which no one else had proved it could be done. Blizzard, I believe, did prove that later with Hearthstone, which is obviously more of a raw card game, but it nonetheless does stand on its own. I think they could have done that and kept going with Guild Wars 1, or go to Guild Wars 2 and try and stop the balance being a nightmare by making some things sacred in the balance. And that's what they did. You could no longer affect recharge time. Recharge was always fixed. You could slightly speed up cast times, well, majorly with quickness, but accessibility was limited, and it was very refined and very controlled. And then by the time Heart of Thorns came out, you know, Alacrity is a brilliant example of just completely forgetting what the fuck you were talking about and doing, right? And Stronghold as well. I remember having the interview so clearly. Maybe it's even on my channel. I don't know. I can't remember. But I remember talking. And I won't name drop the dev themselves because it's not their fault, obviously, that this decision was being made. But you know, I was speaking to one of the devs who was a representative for the fact Stronghold was coming to PvP, right? And I said to them very bluntly. I said, look, what are you doing with this? Is this meant to replace Conquest? Because what happened to the one game mode thing? Are you putting all your eggs in this basket? You're going to try? Like, this will be either everything or nothing, and you're being quite blasé about it. Like, what's going on with Stronghold? And all they ever did was just waffle out. Like, they just trotted out this crap company line where basically they said, oh, we'll just see what the community latches onto and we'll just go with that. No, that's not how it works, man. That means you're just going to let it die. And they did let it die. Even worse, they didn't even listen to the community feedback they did get, marginal as it was. So, you know, like, and that's like, hold on, what about the lessons you learned from Guild Wars 1 with Jade Quarry and Fort Aspenwood and Heroes Ascent and GVG and random arenas and team arenas and hero battles? Why are you in the sequel if now this is what you're doing? It's just for a bullet point on a list to sell the expansion. It was just bad stuff, man. And it just feels like Heart of Thorns had some of that stuff in there. And it's not that I get to sit here privileged after it came out and identify the issues, right? And claim I'm better and holier than thou and blah, blah, blah. The devs should have seen this. It's not that I have hindsight on these particular things I'm talking about here. Hindsight doesn't afford me these because these were things we were concerned about right when they were announced. Watch my video when Alacrity was first announced and how that could end up usurp the game and the fears that are expressed there. It's there, man. And it's just, it's unfortunate. To some extent, it's totally not ArenaNet's fault. And they understand this, by the way. There was a beautiful quote from Isaiah Cartwright, who worked on balance in Guild Wars 1 a lot, not so much in Guild Wars 2. But in one of the recent developer celebrations or streams or something, you can see this guy, and he talks about this very issue. Some genius in the community, and I'm not saying that ironically. I love it when the community actually asks good, incisive questions. They said, hey, look, Guild Wars 1... Let's talk about balance from Guild Wars 1 compared to Guild Wars 2, blah, blah, blah. And Izzy blatantly said, yeah, we made the sequel trying to get away from this problem. And he's got a line there. I remember how he phrases it. He says, in the end, I don't think we really solved it. We just moved it around. And then there's like a ... Well, there's not really, but you can tell mentally there's a ... Okay, so let's talk more about that. No, we're not allowed to make it, you know, cast aspersions too deeply on the current product. And then he moves on and talks about other things. But, you know, like, they have that realization there that some of the things they set out to solve with Guild Wars 2, they did not solve with Guild Wars 2. And Guild Wars 2 is infinitely more complicated and layered than the original. And you're a fool to believe otherwise. A true fool. If you are currently Plat 2 in Guild Wars 2, and you were a very successful GVGer in Guild Wars 1, I will listen to your opinion on it. But if not, then you have no idea what you're talking about. What if they just, and I can tell you now that the amount of people that are in that position are very few, and I think all of them, if they are currently Plat 2, will agree Guild Wars 2 has got a lot more to it. The community isn't large enough for the true gods that appreciate it all to stand forward, like, but they're there. What if they just made Guild Wars 1 in the Guild Wars 2 engine for people, so people didn't go back to learn the story? I mean, what? Why? What? You've got Guild Wars 1, man. It's still live. That's such a crap opinion. I don't like the idea of remaking Guild Wars 1 and remastering Guild Wars 1 all the time. Why do we constantly have to keep doing that? No. Let's move on. Let's not keep going on about Guild Wars 1. Maybe ArenaNet will go in the other direction and learn to integrate the different game modes into something more seamless in Guild Wars 2. Make competitive mini-games and PvP modes in different maps for PvE, for example. Maybe that's a way around it, Jules. Maybe Guild Wars 3 will be centered around Guild Wars. I mean, that's an interesting idea that the next game in this franchise would be on that. I think they could go two ways. Either they would do that, or they would do completely different title and nothing to do with any of it, really. You know, just somewhere really far away, but with the same general mythos and universe and backing to it. The name Guild Wars literally implies world versus world, war between guilds. I mean, look, going on about the semantics of the name has always been a very shallow and irrelevant line of discussion. Like, yeah, so what? All right, get over it. It was a long name that they're tied to now because most of their brand value is in recognition of that name. It's got nothing to do with the mechanics of the story in general. And yes, now we can try out. Oh, that's a thing in the law, WP. Yeah, I didn't know that, really. So it's it's sort of not of consequence. I've been thinking a lot about Corteria again recently, and I'm not going to talk about it on the stream. But for some reason, I don't know why, I've been thinking about it a lot again. I've been thinking about PvE leagues in particular, and I was really fantasizing about imagine if when World versus World alliances came in, there was like leagues as well, PvE leagues that soft reset the trading post and everyone's level and everyone's gear acquisition and guild progress. Can you imagine how fucking awesome World versus World would be with that? With the asymmetry returned, people like level 20 people, level 30 people racing through the year to actually build their alliance up, their guild up, all the perks that they get access to, and, you know, get their scribes would actually be working away back at the hall. And think about what the economy would be like, all the different builds that would be available, because what's currently effective is World versus World Zerging meta right now would completely get thrown out the window when everyone's lower level and doesn't have access to all the stat sets. So what are the really good builds that will make your Zergs successful when people are variant levels and lower down? Who's really capable and potent self-sustaining roamers when there's loads of asymmetry around? Think about how the economy would work for getting those good foods and those good scribing foods and the good feasts and stuff. With all the different guilds. Oh, imagine how cool that would be right as alliances came in. That would be the true heart of World versus World reborn. But they can't do it because people... I don't want to lose my stuff. Nah, I got Ascended Gear 2 years ago. Don't take it away from me now. I don't want to play the game. It's a shame. Maybe that's what the next MMO will do well. Did you saw the Behind the Voice of Timey? Did you like her more? I did see it. I don't really have any memories of it, so I guess no, because... Wait, is it really new? If it was released with the other ones... I was talking about that last weekend. You can see one of those streams for my opinions on that. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any observations, so I guess she was not memorable to me. But it was, you know, I equally don't have anything horrible to say. I don't believe the deep sea dragon could have ever been gendered, which is really cool since I have the idea that it could be a she. That probably comes from Kunavang as its master, and you sort of think it's like another Kunavang. I know I vaguely have that interpretation and that impression, just very vaguely in the back of my mind whenever I think about it. Which, of course, is bogus, because Glint is of Kralkatorrik, which is, you know, a beast. So, yeah. Rocket says, I don't think they'd move away from Guild Wars 2. They're too attached to... Yeah, oh, and the other thing is, all these discussions are fully appreciating, I hope, that Guild Wars 2 would continue to be supported. Whatever else they would do, that's why there's no need to do a pure MMO sequel, because Guild Wars 2 would be that fill for the company, right? It will continue going with its gem story. It will continue going with its living world. It will continue telling its story. And so that's kind of why I also think between season 4 and 5 we might get a good announcement, because like, why wait? If the plan, if the best plan eventually is decided upon to not do another MMO, why wait for your next product for the Elder Dragons to all be defeated in Guild Wars 2? There would be no need for it, right? The whole idea would be to juggle these things. That could also be another reason why plausibly Kralkatorrik can beat us, because they're just starting to... They're doing what... They would start doing what Lost did in Season 3, where they just start stalling for time because they've got, you know, an indefinite end. Which could be hell for the story, and that would be another area to test the writer's chops. Walking Dead, another good example. Declining quality with no real end in sight. Anyway, to finish reading what Rock was saying, I don't think they move away from Guild Wars 2. They're too attached to it, in my opinion. Also, it does come with baggage. I think the benefits for having a massive lore universe already outweighs the cons. Also, in a new game, they would be unlikely to just copy-paste Guild Wars 2 systems, just like the combat, so some of the best things about Guild Wars 2 might be lost. I disagree with that. I don't know why you think that the mechanics would not come over. Why do people have faith in CD Projekt Red doing Cyberpunk? Because they are masters of single-player RPGs, and their expertise and understanding from the mechanics of how those games work will translate into a new universe. And it's as simple as that. You don't need... we don't have to narrow down just to combat or whatever. You just see what philosophies and understanding and implementation you like about Guild Wars could totally go over to a new IP. I think certainly. Unless it's really dramatically... No, as long as it's the same general genre of game... I mean, then we get into discussions I've had many times as well on the streams, which is how confident are we that Guild Wars is good at being a single-player RPG, right? And mechanics of progression, Arena have no experience or execution with whatsoever, in my opinion. Maybe Fractal Agony Resist and going for the Infinite Mist on Omni Potion is as close as they've ever gotten. But they do not have good coherent systems or economies for that in their games. Not one or two. You didn't like the second Tomb Raider, if I remember correctly. Will you do a Let's Play the new one anyway? I did like it. I've been kind of stalling. I was trying to beat Shadow of the Tomb Raider last night, but ended up PvPing instead. I'm not that hot on the franchise at the moment. I do like them. I'm just not that hot on them. That's all it is. Yeah, I don't know what to say here. Someone just said, laughing my ass off an hour of intro. I don't know what to say. This is so bad. Do you know what? This is really bad because this should just be a Q&A video. This is why you don't see Q&As anymore on YouTube. And this is why people think, I mean, why do I do this for just a handful of people when many more would watch a Q&A? I don't know what the fuck the point of this is. I should do it. He left the stream for a few minutes and he's still talking. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to do. WP will catch up just as the stream's ending. It would make sense for many Orion Royal Ghosts to be forced to become the Eyes of Zhaitan instead. Plus, in Cathedral of Silence mission, the Reaper says that Grenth is annoyed that Zhaitan pulled the Risen Keeper out of the Shrine's soul, locked into the Risen monstrosity. So we need to re-liberate the soul for Grenth. Yeah, that's cool then, actually. I wish they'd more explicitly talked about the mechanisms going on there, but that works. Why is my char been blazing? You mean this guy? He looks high, right? Because he's got red eyes. He's supposed to look inquesty, and I heard that the way to do Fashion Wars is to make sure the eyes look the same color as the armor. So that was the original idea when he was inquesty. Now he's in, like, bounty hunter stuff. And he just looks high, I guess. They could easily make a Guild Wars mobile mystery game featuring Marjorie and Casimir as they take on detective cases. Yeah, see, right, like, that's a lore justification, but what confidence do you have ArenaNet can do, like, a Phoenix Wright game? Oh, well, that's a courtroom drama game. But do you get what I mean? A Professor Layton. I would love a Guild... no, I don't know. I just like Professor Layton. You should just do streams where you answer questions from chat. Well, you're looking at it, man. For me, Guild Wars 2 is unplayable without quickness and alacrity endgame PvE. Oh, Mjolnir. Yeah, but you know that... You realise that that doesn't make it good design. The fact that you feel forced into that now. You realise if those weren't ubiquitous boons that were 100% juggleable uptime and all that stuff, if we weren't in this position, the balance of all the bosses and the experience in general would have been tailored and balanced to suit a meta where they're not always around, right? You do realise that. And it's a more exciting, interesting game if you have quickness windows, right? And potentially alacrity windows as well, that you're meant to synchronize with burn phases as brake bars go down and stuff like that, right? Animations are more readable when they're a bit slower. Visually, the game is better without so much animation spam. And, I mean, just the alacrity effect as well is gross, but at the end of it, that's a minor thing. Less clutter on the UI as well, with more refined boons and when they're actually on you. Again, it's this sense of, like, there needs to be flows. There needs to be ups and downs to the experience of an MMO. And so what is a more exciting raiding, cosmetically, what would be a more exciting and interesting raiding scenario is if general boon uptime was actually quite low and you had like maybe 3 or 4 boons on you all the time, and then teams coordinated to spike you to the 9 or 10 at specific moments. You know, like some of you guys who played back in 2012 may very distinctly remember how fucking crazy it felt to eat plasma as a ranger and see all the boons on there, or a thief, of course, as well, or to pop save yourselves. You know how many guardians used to run what was it called? Is it just called altruistic healing? The trait that gives you heals whenever you give a boon, and they'd run save yourselves. Do you know why that was so common? Way back early, way. Not just because of the actual practical application of it in World vs. World and stuff, but because it felt fucking crazy because of what it did to you. Now we're kind of normalized into this world where we kind of just experience this thing where all the boons are up all the time. But the game didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be balanced around that. It didn't have to be felt that way. It's from balance oversights that we've got to where we are. And now the game is tailored around that. And that's why you feel like you need it. But that's just a matter of perspective born from the handling of the game that didn't have to be so. Right? Okay, scrolling down. Did you see the branded voice of Timey? Did it make you like her more? Oh, it was behind the voice of Timey. My God, I couldn't read that at all. Somebody asked me that earlier. I guess maybe it was you as well. Maybe maybe I've answered already. Do you keep your last character slot free for key farming? No, I keep my last character slots free for potential other character names I like, or aspects of the LP that are upcoming, or if I ever want to click create to make a thumbnail, because the backgrounds here are beautiful, as I showed everyone. You know, when I edited each of these, the warrior one, the guardian one, for all the casting I did. I mean, it's truly beautiful. I love these backgrounds. And you can't actually click to get to this UI if your character slots aren't full. So, yeah, you know, I'll use this for like a balanced video backdrop or whatever. You know, you turn the UI off. I miss doing ATs just because I love this so much. Isn't this cool? These screens are amazing. And I've still got all the assets and stuff I made. I think this is some of the most beautiful. These are really immersive to me. I love the Mesmer one with the potion bottles and stuff. They're really, really cool. The Ellie one's pretty crap. WP, how do you like your coffee? I haven't really drank it for a long time now, but black and without sugar, just for the health reasons. I didn't like it like that for a long time, but then I started to, and now that's just how I have it. If you became a decision maker for ArenaNet, what would be your short-term and long-term goals for the company, Guild Wars 2? I don't like questions like this because they're such arrogant things for me to even contemplate answering, but I guess I'll go for it. Guild Wars 2, I would keep exactly as it's going, and I would have Living Worlds chaining into expansions, and then Living World chaining into expansions. Now, what I'm concerned the devs have done is, what if they've got rid of the idea of an expansion team altogether? But I won't go with that. But I just have Guild Wars 2 going out the way it is. With its systems as they currently are, I would have that. And then what I would do is I'd have two other development cells, probably. I'd have one serious quantity of devs working on the next project. And it would be, I think it would be a spiritual successor to Guild Wars 1. It would be Guild Wars 1's mechanics and gameplay style. It would be a CO RPG, as they say. And it would be marketed specifically to those old fans of Guild Wars 1. It would be marketed to fans of PoE and action RPGs. I would make a CO RPG, very much like Guild Wars 1. I would even tack on some of those, like, blatant features that weren't even that good, and their implementation can be totally different now, but they have the same title, so it works. Like multiple professions. I would have the game have multiple professions, but the way it's implemented would be nothing like how it actually was in Guild Wars 1, so it wouldn't have all the broken, terrible design issues around balance, but you can still say, hey, multiple professions, because that will just get a lot of, you know, lowbrow fans back in. People who don't think very hard about it, they'll just come and join just because they think they've got it back now, even if implementation wise it's much more refined. And you know, I do a lot of fun things. That idea of True Wars 2 I talked about before, I was going to do a video on, all that stuff, that would be the big one I'd be working on right now. And that would be not necessarily a Tyrion game. It can be a Tyrion game. That would be a decision I don't know whether I have any strong feelings on right now. Maybe still set in Tyria. Maybe that's a good idea. But I'd have Guild Wars 2 plodding along. I'd have True Wars 2 as another game that isn't... And the point of that other game is that it's not as heavily actively updated after release. It would be, but it'd be a bit like how... I'd seek to emulate in a lot of ways how Blizzard works with its various teams, right? So you'd release it, but you'd have a smaller amount of people with more creative control over it, more... outred by those people, and they could throw their updates out on that and continue chaining that along. Then I would have a third small cell working in progress and development for something else. I don't know, a different genre, a different franchise. I don't know, just something else. I'd have that cooking as well, with the ultimate goal to have each of these products supported out. Lastly, and I seriously believe in this, I know I've put it at the end here like it's tacked on, but I care very deeply about this. I would get maybe 5 people tops. I'd have like 5 hires, 5 to 10 hires tops as a tiny little team, but those guys would start actively developing Guild Wars 1 stuff and looking at Guild Wars 1 and working within the confines of Guild Wars 1. Deeply passionate individuals about that original game, just throwing updates into there to keep that population going. And it doesn't have to be anything too substantive or crazy, but going for that. There is a real thirst for the original game, not games like the original game, the actual original game. There's a crazy thirst for it. So that's probably the main stuff I'd do. I don't know. And I would probably let all competitive prospects fall away, because I don't know how many competitively minded people they have there anymore. I probably would stop chasing that esport idea or whatever. It's not so much of a thing anymore. It's better to chase after battle royales, or even that. You know, your time might be coming quickly to a close. I don't know. So it's something like that. Weirdly, when you disable the UI on this menu, it doesn't seem to allow you to rotate the character. It's very weird. The only way to rotate the character is to click on the character. So it's actually like a UI element. It's really, really strange. What if I'm rotating the character and I toggle the UI off in the middle? Well, I can there. Strange. Anyway, sorry. Back to chat. That's a very loose spitball, but I think that would be a comfortable way through. Fuck this game. This is a podcast. This basically is a solo podcast. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. Chat is now forever more people to see on Wooden Potatoes 2. That's true, yeah, you can see your messages on Wooden Potatoes 2. A year-long campaign would be dope. Oh, somebody talking about the World vs. World thing. I'm enjoying that. Good, Corvus. I'm glad to see people appreciate it. Oh, the Timey Voice thing came out yesterday. In that case, I haven't seen it. I should check it out. I should definitely check it out. I have a very strong idea for what I think that voice actress looks like, and I don't know why. I'll tell you what I imagine she looks like. This is what I imagine the Timey voice actress looks like. Bridget Jones. I don't know why, but that's like 100%. I can't remember the name of the actress behind Bridget Jones. But that's how I feel she looks. I'm going to have my mind blown, aren't I, when I go to that video. Remember when WP used to play on these streams? Good times. I know, man. Change the title to AMA. Should I change the title? How long have we been going? I don't know. Guys, if I commit to this, you have to actually keep the discussion and comments going for an hour. Oh my god, it's an hour and a half in. What? No. I swear to God, I just looked at that clock and it was half an hour. Didn't I just say it's been 30 minutes? I mean, didn't I just... I'm not trying to be funny or joke or ham this up. I haven't even got through that many topics. What is the... this was a bit of a joke, but I thought we were still pre an hour. I thought I was going to do something like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and then go. Go start the stream. I'm going to have to turn this to AMA. I can't do a stream that professes to be the lore and story playthrough that is 20 minutes. Alright, well, okay, look, if this is actually the stream, I need to do a better job at actually answering, don't I? Alright, wait, you guys have to slow down in the comments, because I'm scrolled so far up now, I'm literally running out of space. They're getting purged before my eyes. Lavos10 says, I love hearing your opinions, man. Thanks, man, I appreciate that. Glad I'm not the only one who does this. Alright, let's play Guild Wars 2 6 hours later, still on bloody YouTube. I come here to hear you talk, not watch gameplay. The problem with that, though, is... most of this stuff is stuff I've said before. I can only say it so many times before going insane. It's weird, because I've been watching a lot of Star Trek conferences recently, and the woman that played Deanna Troi, right? Obviously, this is her moneymaker now. She just does conventions and talks to nerds who want her opinion. But at so many of these conventions, she tells the exact same anecdotes, the exact same jokes, the exact same story. It's basically a stand-up routine she's got worked out. And for years now, for like 15 years, she's gone to conventions and told the same shit. And she always gets the same audience reactions, always the same laughs. And it makes me realize that, you know, that's what my life's like in a lot of ways. You can say something and think that the opinion's out there, but infinitely more people never heard you say it than people did. So you can just keep redoing it over and over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of a thing. All right, okay. Well, Eat Rocker says, 2 years ago, I asked you on a Q&A what you think about Spirit Quest, Tonic, and Lore. You never answered me then. I can only assume you hated me, so I started streaming, became partnered, all for that one goal. So you'd notice me and answer my questions. So here we are. Tell me, WP, what about the Spirit Quest Tonic? Really, man? Jesus, that's weird to think of, actually. Okay. The Spirit Quest Tonic, I think, is a casualty of much of the Forsaken Thicket stuff, in that they had some interesting ideas with death and the envoys and all that, but then it never came to fruition and they didn't do anything fun with it anymore. That's what I think about the Spirit Quest Tonic. I know it's got like some real world reference in lore, like, who is it that goes on Spirit Quest? Isn't that like, isn't that a Native American thing, isn't it? Where they get high in, like, little heat huts and go fucking bonkers for a while. Chakotay and Voyager does it. Isn't that a Spirit Quest? I don't know why we see undead. I don't know why we get it in the place, except the River of Souls and stuff. I may have not answered that question because I just don't have a great answer, I'm afraid. What are your thoughts on an Iron Man Guild Wars 2 mode? It's crazy fun in RuneScape. You must be new here. I love the thought of that. Truly love the thought. I adore it. I think that there's so much that can be fixed and improved and helped with Guild Wars 2. And by the way, the person who asked me to map the future of Guild Wars 2, if I could make those decisions, you'll note I left no space there for like a Guild Wars 2.5, a rebuilding of Corteria, an introduction of leagues and all that stuff. I left no space for that. Because as much as I actually want that as a Guild Wars fan, I think if I was in a really executive, like, high decision-making direction, I'm not sure I would prioritize that. Because all the perks that come out of building that, it's kind of a question of, well, you could put them in Guild Wars 2 and make Guild Wars 2 amazing. But video game audiences in 2018 are fickle wankers that just see 2012 next to your name on Wikipedia, and they won't play it. They think it's an old game. So if you're gonna basically do all this crazy stuff to make a really good RPG and to have a really tight, good PvE progression phase and all that stuff, if you want the beautiful world versus world interaction that I described earlier as well, if you want all of those things, why not put it in a new game, right? Now that gets into the idea of them actually doing a sequel, an MMO sequel. I need better terminology for this. Basically, I'm saying they could do another MMO, but it wouldn't be Guild Wars, and that could have the spirit of the Corteria overhaul and all that kind of stuff, which would be different to the Guild Wars True Wars 2, which is the Guild Wars 1 spiritual successor, and wouldn't be an MMO, would be a CORPG, blah, blah, blah. There are two very distinct products that I'm trying to express here. And if you're going to go with that, if those are your ideas, why waste a ton of time and effort put it into Guild Wars 2 where you won't get the benefit of the true potential of it, you know? And it pains me to say, because I want to see Guild Wars 2 be truly realized. I want to see Tyria be the place, the MMO, the ultimate experience, but the reality of the world we live in is that audiences just won't come back in a big way. I mean, I say that, but I am cynical of myself saying that because, I mean, look at RuneScape. Look at Iron Man mode in RuneScape. You're right. Like, it's had a resurgence of players. Now, people are horrendous to and about Jagex, as far as I can see. But, you know, maybe... Let's reverse the thing here as well. Filters. Oh, no, it's transform, isn't it? Flip horizontal. There we go. I think it looks better there. The balance of the screen looks better. Okay. Anyway, so, yeah. Right. Also, I think I have... Sorry, if you've missed comments, you're going to have to repost them, because I'm being forced to scroll now by the internet. There's too many comments. Branded Timey, this is foreshadowing. WP knows something we don't. The biggest problem is no self-mic generation matters. It's all irrelevant. Yeah, I've been a big believer for years now. Come at me. I've been a very big believer in halving in PvE. PvP is actually fine, I think, at the moment. But in self-might is actually too high in PvP. But for PvE and World versus World, half the efficacy of might, double the cap of might. So, basically, if you want the experience of 25 might now, you need to be at 50. And just see how that goes. I would want to see something similar to Vuln as well. To really carve out this idea of a vulnerability applicator within a comp. And really carve out this idea of a might applicator within a comp. The devs may not want to do that for what it's worth. Because they don't want the compositions to be that restrictive. Maybe they like the idea of, okay, look, you've got your boon spammer, you've got your healer. And just let everyone else go DPS, right? Maybe they want it to be really, really loose for their comps. But I would question that. And I would seriously... look any dev in the eye and say, is that the right way to go with your raiding? Isn't the spirit of raiding to be truly elite and really interesting and really refined as an experience? Like, are you bastardizing that to try and create some sense of accessibility there, which is not in the spirit of raids at all? So that's how I feel about it all. I think it'd be interesting. I miss, for example, when NGs were like, oh, you can run an NG. He actually puts a lot of vuln out, right? It's good. He puts a lot of vuln out instead of everyone shitting out loads of vuln. It's the same, both might and vuln. Next expansion is probably a big one. At least that's what I feel is the reason for double Living World. Could be as simple as that, you know? Why did you cancel the LP? It was starting to get good. Why are you trying to guilt me, man? I know that you know that it's not cancelled. The thing is, I need to do the Straits of Devastation metas, which I'm supposed to be doing after the streams, but I'm getting really worn out by the streams lately. Probably tomorrow we will continue it. Problem I see with professions in game is they create a gold sink with only 1 to 2 items that you need, while all else is mostly junk at the mastery level. Lower level weapon armor drops to allow professions to actually do their job filling in the market. I'm not going to lie, I don't really know the context for the message you sent there, and it makes no sense to me. But I'm sure that what you're saying has some coherent thought behind it. Stop reading comments and just start playing, says Satya Vine1e. I'm pretty sure at this point, Satya Vine1e is leaving. Since this became a full-on AMA thing. Has WP started the playthrough yet today? Had to go away and it seems he's still talking about other stuff. Yeah, we're not doing the playthrough, I guess, at this point. The voice stuff came in with a raid guild chat. They had pretty interesting idea about the Mythrite development and how they added references to Isgaren, etc. Oh, that's 2 streams I'm behind now. And didn't I miss... I read a comment on my subreddit where someone said, hey, WP, you think you did the developer AMA, but you didn't really. Here's the actual one. Do you guys remember that? Let me log in and see here. Because I'm pretty sure that's a thing. Oh, I have a Reddit message as well. Oh, cool. Okay, it's a big wall of text, which I'll read later. Also, I'm not going to give specifics here. I'm not going to give specifics. I'm not going to name drop or talk about the arrangement. But I had an amazingly weird message on Reddit where someone offered to pay to get a specific kind of video coming out, which I really kind of like. It's to do with Game of the Days, but they're asking for a profession I don't really know anything about, so I haven't responded just yet. I just want whoever that is, if you're watching this stream right now, to know that I am still considering what you said. I'm just not entirely sure if I did something like that, I'd want to do it really well, and so that would mean I'd need to learn that class. Anyway, why was I on Reddit? I can't remember. Oh, it was something about the channel. I can't remember. Anyway, let's just move on. There's so many comments. Tammy's voice actress is the same as the little girl from the Walking Dead games. Really? Is it? No way. Damn, man. I haven't played season 2 or 3 of that. I want to see how Telltale kind of went down the pooper in the end. Important discussion. How do I RP walk in Guild Wars 1? Yeah, you can't, can you? Isn't that a thing? You basically have to get yourself hexed in some way. Maybe there's a self-hex you can throw on that reduces your movement speed. I need to think of a question. Yep, you didn't even do the intro yet. Yeah, I know. Well, there won't be an intro now, obviously. Do you think we will see Cantha in Guild Wars 2? I'd like to. Cantha is an interesting topic because we can do Cantha, definitely. But what we also want to avoid is constantly just chasing the past and chasing Guild Wars 1 and never making anything super new. Now, they always refine on these areas and add new stuff and, you know, do worthwhile things, but they got to be careful of that kind of stuff, right? And they got to work hard when they're going to Cantha. So I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't be disappointed if next expansion is like the Char Legion homelands or the Norn homelands or somewhere really far away that we don't even know about. Go to Dizlana or something. And then later we go to Cantha. I really wouldn't mind. I think the biggest selling point of the next expansion has to be a new playable race and Tengu. I think that will sell boxes hard. So that's what I want to see. Saturday podcast stream, yay. I was supposed to start making food an hour ago, but nope, still here. Just turn the volume up and just listen from in the kitchen. It's not like there's anything relevant on the footage at all here. You read out 40 minutes and 1 hour. Oh, did I read out an hour as well? No, I finally made it to the stream and no lore gameplay. Just kidding. I made it regardless. It's good to see you, Zuali. Can I just say as well, oh, I don't know. We're running out of time to get these last few subs, aren't we? Maybe they've started dropping off already. I don't know. Do we have a mod in chat? If there's a mod in chat, I'll do a giveaway. I'd love to do a giveaway here today. If we've got a mod in chat, I really want to try that out. Yeah, last weekend we didn't do the story either, did we, Lummus? It's been a quick week for me. I'm cool with whatever. I love watching you play through the stories. It brings out interesting conversation. I love the game, but I also love them AMAs. It's funny because a 2-hour questions and answers video is like a big video. Need to make videos for each of these discussions? Maybe I could pull the audio out. It's probably worth way less than it actually is. Watch the timer behind the lore voice straight on stream, please. I'd rather not, I'm afraid. It's kind of a cool idea, like, but I don't want to just throw it up in front of people. Or maybe maybe I can watch it on stream. Yeah. Why don't we watch it on stream? Oh, no, let's not, because I just realised something with audio that's going to be a pain in the ass. Credit to you, WP, for making the LP so hyped. Funny to see you talk about Guild Wars on stream compared to the LP. Also, when's the next episode coming up? What, because I'm so much more sour and candid on the... well, what you'll see, if you are watching the LP, you will see over the past 20 episodes, it's started to turn a little bit more critical, a little bit more even-handed, I think, a little bit more... of an open book into my thoughts and feelings about things. I mean, there's a lot I still don't talk about. Like, the Battle for Fort Trinity is actually a trash instance. It's really terrible. And I kind of glossed over over a lot of that. Temple of the Forgotten God as well is a really trashy instance for a lot of the bugs and things that it throws at you. And I kind of don't talk about that. Like, there's supposed to be a moment in the Temple of the Forgotten God where you hear the dragon roar. And if you actually look at the implementation of how they do that in-game, it's atrocious. And, you know, they're supposed to be, oh, God, we got to leave because of the falling rocks and stuff, and the whole place is going to collapse. And, you know, it's not intense or scary at all, but I kind of play along with the game anyway. And that was the most recent episode. So I'm still very forgiving of it. But the idea is, by the time we get to this season, what you see me doing on these streams will be very similar to what you see in the LP. And you know, it will just be the streams but better. The streams but with more prep, with more detail, more work put in, more balanced flow of story with open world and stuff. Spirit Quest is a Native American thing, but also happened in pre-Christianized Finno-Ugric societies as well. What is a Finno-Ugric society? I don't know what that is. Thank you very much for the sub there. We did get one today. Thank you. WP's worldly understanding of Native American culture is Chakotay from Star Trek Voyager. Voyager. Oh man, I know it's not good, is it? Well, I'm excused. I am British. It's not like I've ever in my entire life interacted with a Native American. Never in my whole life have I ever done that. You might think that's really closeted and weird, but I mean, why would I? Or maybe. No, I don't think so. It's unfortunate how, on one account, I can only experience the Griffin Quest and Sun Refuge updates once. Yeah, do you know what would fix that? PvE leagues. What's this True Wars 2? Just like just think of everything that was great about Guild Wars 1 that is no longer there in Guild Wars 2, and make a game that expresses those facets, and it's all about that. In my mind, it would actually be the best of Guild Wars 2 and the best of Guild Wars 1 in one neat package. And not necessarily an MMO, but obviously a heavily multiplayer game. What was that Spore game as well that was kind of skirting the genre of CORPG? It was like a hub-based adventure style thing. Why not have large counterattacks by the branded? Or what do you mean? From the Kralkatorrik threat, and why isn't he sending his branded out to attack? I think that the recent patches have done very well to express that he is. He's fighting hardcore in the mist right now. He's branding all kinds of places. He's doing a lot. Need to make videos for each of these, then you can just refer to them rather than repeat yourself all the time. Yeah, it is true. I want to do the true video essays. I haven't done since the LP started, just because the LP drains a lot of the time and energy. But I miss sitting down and writing and trying to con myself into thinking I might have an ounce of intellect, which I used to do a little bit more. I miss that. You need like 50 stacks, and it's rare difficult for someone to get 20 stacks themselves. Oh, you're talking about might, right? Yeah, like I think that could work really well, and it just gives them more space to really hone in on the various types of might generators. Do you give a lot, but to 5 targets, or or less, but to 10? Do you know the different ways in which that could work out? You could find prominence across different formats for it. Do you give long duration, or can you... I mean, if you go high enough with the cap, there's a sense of having one comp that always has a baseline amount of might, and then there's another idea of having, like, ridiculous spiked up might, but it's, like, more potent might than other people's might, because you're a warrior, and it gives them healing power at the same time, except now it's ferocity instead or something, you know? They can do things like that. The engine's capable of it. They could carve out some really interesting buildcraft with it. Guild Wars 3 ideas. Set in an unknown point in the future. It's an RPG, but Arena that still develops Guild Wars 2. We fail in Guild Wars 2, and we play in a post-apocalyptic Tyria. NPCs are vague about how things got to this point. This gives us a reason to keep playing Guild Wars 2 to see what happened. I like that idea of that bridge. That's kind of cool. Really cool, actually. Very Tarantino-esque, and I am sort of a fan for messing with narrative in that way. And sort of throwing us all over the storyboard. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. That's an interesting hook as to why we get to the other thing. I must admit, though, I'm not that excited about a post-apocalyptic setting. Can't we just establish that it's definitely in the future of Guild Wars 2, and it's just weird in some way, and we want to find out the answer to that weirdness. I don't know whether post-apocalyptic stuff is what the franchise needs. The kind of the aesthetic of the franchise is a weird one as well. Like, if I saw another Guild Wars game, would I want to see it kind of the more close to reality, refined fantasy that Guild Wars 1 was, with a very distinct, very down-to-earth, very realistic gear and places and whatnot? Or the Guild Wars 2's kind of very... high fantasy isn't the right term. But it's more... what's the word? I don't know what the word is. But, you know, the aesthetic's different, isn't it? If you think about the Asura cuteness and the golems and the soft edges and the more color and the more shinies and the more extravagant, the less realistic gear, all that kind of stuff. You know, they're very, very different styles and increasingly so as time moves forwards. So what would you see there? I don't know. I redistributed some of my income to Patreon too. What should come in the next X-Pack, says Kerbads. Thank you so much, Kerbads. I wonder if anyone actually did go to Patreon. Guys, seriously, I would love people on Patreon. If you enjoyed this, I'll actually put a link in chat there. I'm not even saying that ironically. If you do watch a lot of me, it literally is the difference between me having a nice life and not one. So thanks very much. Anyway, what should come in the next X-Pack? Like I said, I think the big ticket seller has to be a new playable race, and I think Tengu is the one to go for. I think it is the best to tie it to Cantha. I think build templates will actually be in the game before that. I think that there'll be an example of something they want to do in Living World just to prove that it's really good. The question of mounts is a very interesting one. I think that they can do a mix for next expansion of mount-oriented mastery stuff and also HOT-style stuff. I'd like to see some repurposing and implementation for the mastery system too, frankly, because I think it's a shoddy the way that they've done it so far. You know, a new selection of elite specs as well, the full complement, all 9, which would bring us to a total of 27. And if you are so inclined to continue believing core builds is a separate, distinct thing, which they're not, but if you want to do that, you know, 36 very distinct different varieties of how every one of 9 classes can play, which is really kind of ludicrous. For big features, I think that really the main one being that new race is what would seal the deal and do a lot of good stuff. And there's so many exciting and interesting questions on how you could deal with that. That I actually do have a video essay on. You can type Wood and Potatoes Guild Wars 2 new race, and you'll see my speculation on mechanically how they can do it and why it's unlikely up until this point. It's a little bit outdated of a video, but it's still generally, the gist of it is there. It's pre-Path of Fire, though, so the confidence I've gained of the Mounts team doing really well has kind of offset it. Why did I cancel my Let's Play of the login screen? What do you mean? What? Because we're on the Guardian, the character creator now? I just think it looks cooler. Doesn't this look cooler? Don't you think? I think it looks cooler. This is a nice one as well, but not as nice as the others. So I don't really want to use it. Is Dusty asking for Trap DH? I don't know if he still plays Trap DH. I want all the llamas in PvP. I want all the llamas, which means I have to start doing ATs. So I might start playing with Dusty. If he's still pugging and still going for it, I might actually start it. And nothing serious, but I might give it a shot. Thanks for the link to the developer celebration. I've just clicked it. I'll actually use that tab in the creation of the video later. Can you kick ArenaNet's dev as so they finally fix the rev bug and make the class playable again? Thanks. You are the epitome of a terrible commenter. What are you talking about? I can't kick ArenaNet's ask. Why are you asking me? 2, what rev bug? 3, rev is totally playable. So no. But I do advise you leave an angry comment that's just as vague on the forums. A dwarf race? No. Tengu, my friends. Tengu. I had to go AFK. Did I miss any talk about how Chrono is busted again and how ArenaNet can't seem to get him right? What? So I'm out of the loop on Chrono since the balance patch. I obviously know everything that happened, and I did a production with Boots on it, but where the cards would fall, I don't know. So what is the situation with Chrono at the moment? What do you mean it's busted again? Because I've been completely out of the loop with it and not been entertaining it right now because those formats of the game just aren't sort of so relevant. Not sure if you have answered this before, but how do you think Kralkatorrik got into the Mists? It's a good question. My assumption is just the deterioration of reality, plus his larger share of magic at this point has allowed him to start traveling back and forth. Balthazar seemed to some degree be able to do that, right? And he absorbed a lot of Balthazar's energy. Maybe you can say that domain or whatever kind of unlocked his ability to do it. You didn't acknowledge my sub and pretend to like me before. Oh, I'm sorry, Coop. I don't pretend to like you. I like you, Coop. I haven't looked at notifications at all, to be honest, this stream. Should I run through them very quickly for people? Those very patient people. Look at me here begging for subs and not even looking at who does it. So here we go. Check it out. Twitchy Kibos just went with Prime. Enjoy your new Guild Wars 1 emotes, man. Thank you very much. Alan6, thank you very much. We had a few follows. An hour ago, Coop came in. Zalarian came in. Rabast came in. Bacon's all mine. It's good to see you. Azadirach. RV1. Now we're like days ago. Yeah, I'm not getting many subs anymore. But yeah, so there you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. WP, you're such a complex man. Oh, my ego is so soothed and sated right now. Thank you. Oh, that's all I want to hear. Tell me I'm multifaceted. This was one of those no, yes, no moments. He nearly watched it. Wait, what? I don't know what that's in reference to. Headcanon time. Does this community do that too? But I like to think that the commandos in Jahai Bluffs are the ones we see in the Guild Wars 1 April Fools. They just made a wrong turn. The exact same guys on the same mission. That's a cool idea, man. I like that too. Yeah, I'm very looking forward to the Season 2 Heart of Thorns far more than the personal story. Yeah, most people are burned out for the personal story. It's fine. It was nice seeing Guild Wars 2 interconnect with Guild Wars 1 via the Temple of the Forgotten God and Zaitan chasing after Abaddon's artifacts. Imagine if he had gotten his claws on the relics in Siren's Landing, reliquaries, or whatever lay in are. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I like that thought as well, that Abaddon kind of saved them in a way from that. You like Voyager? I'm weird, you know. I mean, I've been looking a lot into why they did a whole new timeline and all that kind of stuff. And I read a really interesting comment about just how toxic it was as a setting to write for by the time Voyager was done. Just because of the reality of that they'd established in terms of the advances of various technologies, like all the holograms everywhere that were fully sentient and all the timeline messing that had happened. That it was just too gross. It's really interesting. Apparently, one of the movies was written by a real big Star Trek nerd and fan, and they threw it out because his script was too Star Trek-y. And then the fucking J.J. Abrams universe, which is just bullshit explosions and actions on the screen. That's not... I'm going to use a word here that you might cringe, alright? But it's a word I believe in. The new Star Trek stuff is not cerebral enough, alright? I need my entertainment to be cerebral, alright? That's why I like Star Trek. And that's why it's bad now.
So, if they could just be a little bit more cerebral, that would be very nice, thank you. Because I'm very intelligent, and that's what I need.
Off-topic question. You know they made a Raven remastered. Came out like 13 March this year. I didn't know that. Really? Should I buy that? I literally would buy that and not even play it just to support the studio. As long as it's not some shitty port done by a third-party group. Just to support the studio so they make more. The Raven. The Raven remastered. It's in my library already. Oh, snap. I got it for free. Oh, man. Come on, King Art. You're so good. Oh, it looks amazing. Oh, my God. Oh, what a great game, man. You know, when Matt and I played that, we literally just picked it at random. We didn't even... Well, not entirely at random, but just because it looked all right. We had no idea what we were getting in for. What an experience. Jesus Christ. I got a lot of fond memories of that. Do I like cats? They're all right. Not particularly, though. Did I play the new Tomb Raider? Yep. I'm in the last act. Do Necro and only buff yourself because you're selfish? Man, I don't know whether you know what Blood is Power is like now, but it's pretty nuts on the might. And it's AoE too. What's my most hated PvP to play against? Anything desk smash inducing? No, I'll tell you what. I don't think there's anything too egregious at the moment. I think that there's a lot of really cheesy stuff, and I think various Deadeye variants are the cheesiest of them all. But it depends on the map. You know, if you're going against a Deadeye on Colosseum, if you're forced into a side-noding position on Colosseum when you're not actually a side-noding build, and a Deadeye comes at you, it is pretty binary. It's pretty, okay, you lose. You need to lose or you're dead. You need to leave the cap and let them decap and let them even get full cap if you like, or you're dead. But on other maps, there's more terrain to play with, and So that feels pretty bad. Mesmer still dumps out an absurd amount of Condi, but it's I think it's got an alright role at the moment. I do. I think it's got enough downs. I'm alright with Scourge being a big Condi applicator in the meta, and I'm alright with Mesmer because they are different sort of forms of the experience. You know, one's a bit more skirmishy, a bit more +1-y, a bit more rotatey, more flighty. The other one gets more benefit from having support and can swing team fights. Has more AoE capacity. I think it's a kind of okay, you know. I don't think that there's anything that bizarre. Most of my upsets are builds that I really enjoy that are just not strong enough. And what I want to see is the top level shaved down so that the others can become more competitive. Basically, the devs need to take like that top level of shit and just drag it all down. Reaper especially, I want to see nerfed like back. Well, I don't know. There's also kind of a cool balance between Reapers and Scourges at the moment. It seems the opinion's out in a lot of ways as to which one, for queuing and general queuing, is better. I think for ATs, Scourge is still top dog, right? But I'm only just sort of getting to grips with where the game's set after my big break. The whole game is like post-searing Ascalon, and people hate that. That's the thing. People don't like... If you go too grimy and gross, you kind of cut your audience a bit. That, in a lot of ways, I respect PoE for what it did, because it didn't go super grimy and gross all the time. Because it did do that, and it found its success anyway. Final Fantasy X style post-apocalyptic. There we go. Now we're talking. And that's essentially what Guild Wars was. If you look at the lore in various times. I mean, after the Elder Dragon Rising, we would be in a low magic scenario. So what would be a really interesting setting, actually, would be post-apocalyptic, if you will. There's been some great disaster, but there's also still a lot of magic around. But reality didn't deteriorate, and now this is the game. And it's like, well, hold on. What's going on? It can't have been a traditional Elder Dragon Rising because people still have reasonable amounts of magic. So you get a lot of that influence that Guild Wars 2 benefits from aesthetically and for its setting. But it's clearly not the Elder Dragons. Maybe the Elder Dragons are still around or something, or, you know, but they're not a prominent part of the game. And I don't know. I mean, what I just described there would actually be really easy to explain away as, oh, they've just been replaced. Look, that's Aurene flying around in the sky. Ooh. Yeah, the Alliance system is coming eventually to World vs. World. I want to be very clear that when Alliances come in, I will be taking Spud into it. So, be ready for that. What else we got? Give fishing, please. Fishing is another cool feature. There's a selection of really cool features that the next expansion can do. New race, fishing, and there's another one as well that I always forget. But every now and then I get a flash of inspiration. I'm like, no, remember that. That was a big feature that definitely could be an expansion setter. The thing is, though, guys, they don't need to do too many of those. They can do new race plus fishing this time, and then next time, new race plus, I don't know, whatever the other thing was. But I say other thing, there's like 3 or 4 big things. I think it's really important that the MMO has those, and people are clear about that stuff, because it keeps you excited about Guild Wars. A lot of people play an MMO, and they want to feel like big things are coming, and new excitements are on the horizon. And it's something that the devs have to really give you a sense of, you know? So I think it's sort of my job as a part of this community to galvanize excitement for the future and passion for the future and where the franchise will go. And to do that, I think what I really need to do is make it very clear what the cool features should be. There's a lot of videos that are potentially really exciting to watch at the moment about the future of the company and the future of the game and stuff. Let's see. I don't see another bestial race being a big draw. People want their pretty characters. Tengu can be pretty, man. They're birds. Oh, are you responding to someone else? If there was one thing in Guild Wars 2 I could wish for, it would be to make a Guild Wars 1 GVG system using guild halls and Guild Wars 2 combat and some World vs. World elements like Siege, defending your guild hall as you equipped it against other guild whilst trying to take theirs. I don't know whether you've... You said you were watching me like 2 years ago, Rocker. I don't know if you ever saw when I did data mining videos through Terraria 3D. You may be very interested in one of the development, never released, World vs. World concept maps. I say World vs. World concept. We don't know if it was World vs. World. But it was basically GVG, just as you've described it in the Mists. It was one large keep/fortress facing off against another with some, like... It was like, imagine a GVG map set in Edge of the Mists. It's quite a large map too. that's what it was. I don't know what the player scale was meant to be. Maybe 10v10. It looked about that level. It'd be an interesting video. You can still find it on my channel. Just type in Wooden Potatoes Tier 3D World versus World, and it will probably come up. There's a selection of maps, and that was one of them. It did look really good. WP AMA or ANET's AMA? My AMA, I guess. Oh, right. Yeah, people are answering about the Chrono now. So, wait. The cool thing with the Lagos is the mystery surrounding them. Tengu makes more sense. Yes, well done, Kostage, as well. Good. Look, Kostage appreciates shit, man. Kostage can be quite on the ball sometimes. Lagos are a dangerous playable race because most of their excitement and intrigue is from the mystery. You make them playable and you rob them of a lot of that. I mean, you could try to do a weird thing where you're playing as a race that is equally mysterious. And I don't deny that there's probably some way you can juggle it, but it's a risk, and it's something that it's an artistic thing that you don't have to force yourself to do. Just give us a more obvious race. Tengu. I agree completely. Lagos are actually very low on my list for new races in the order you'd get them, just because I don't think that they need to be that. It's one of those things where you think you want it, but you don't. And that's a real thing, for God's sake. What? I was reading some obnoxious article. No, it wasn't. It was the big World of Warcraft thread. I talked about this on Monday's stream. Last weekend, there was a big thread on the World of Warcraft forums where they were just whining about X, Y, Z. I obviously have no idea of the context for any of it. But I was reading it and seeing how their community responds compared to how our community responds to ArenaNet and all this stuff. And anyway, one of the comments someone made, and it was massively upvoted, was, and he quoted the phrase, "You think you want it, but you don't." And he said, this outlook, this phrase, this vision needs to die. It's the worst thing in the world, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it is the height of community arrogance to believe that you are more all-knowing than professionally paid, trained people. Like, a lot of times, things that seem to work on paper don't in execution. And you don't have any perspective for that if you're just a random person on Reddit that doesn't work in QA or has no sense of design. There is a reason being a game developer is a job, all right? And I can say that very bluntly and openly and clearly because I'm not a game developer. I'm just another random loser on the internet, just like you. I'm a nobody just like you. So I can say that, but I can use a little bit of discerning and intelligence to come to that. I know it hurts to realize that maybe our ideas for the games aren't perfect, but if any of the devs sat here and said, yeah, WP, we tried PvE leagues, it didn't work for X, Y, or Z, I would buy that and understand that, right? And so I can do that, but I feel so bad for a lot of these game companies that essentially are just, their expertise is completely dismissed and hand-waved. Based on the whims of the community. That mindset should not be adhered to in any way. And you see on these Reddit threads, it kind of is. You know, what does Blizzard do afterwards? They bow and apologize. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It really frustrated me. That just specific phrase. You think you do, but you don't. Just completely dismissing that concept. That your blunt, naked, untested theory about how the game would be better it is immaculate, is perfect, is the ultimate fix. And if the dev tells you that you may be wrong in your initial assumption that the Lagos would be a good race, they're wrong. I mean, it's so frustrating. The height of arrogance. So I open that rant, that's how I end it. Can you personally fix the bug that makes the Thorman Overreactor Fractal unplayable where Scarlet Briar's line has the wrong emphasis on one of the words? I don't even know what line that is. Yes, I can do that. New Signal of Inspiration allows you to maintain 80% resistance, 90% Aegis uptime, while still having full uptime on all the other boons. What is it that caused that then? Why is the resistance and the Aegis gone up? When they normalized everything to 3 seconds, they didn't increase the boon duration of some stuff, did they? Oh, maybe they did actually. Wasn't resist only at 2 or something before? Oh my god. Chrono situation. Raiders are complaining they don't have 100% quickness and alacrity uptime with 1 chrono. Well, Trio DVD, your comment there is contrary to everyone else's. I thought, is it broken or is it like, is it OP or UP? With new chrono having nearly every boon is realistic now with 80% resistance uptime. If you want quickness or alacrity, take a Renegade and a Firebrand. Raid Chrono is even better. Lagos are cool because they had Mysterious scrolling down. 100% alacrity uptime with just Renegade F3 at 80-ish% boon uptime. Yeah, I did see that. I made a mistake on the balance video. My gut was that it wasn't 100% just from orders from above, but it is 100% alacrity from 10 targets just with orders from above on a Renegade, which is kind of cool. All right, so Rocket says they removed the lesser Signet of Inspiration trait. Yeah, I saw that. Making quickness alacrity for 5 people much harder. But normal Signet of Inspiration is now 10 man. Yeah, when you trait it. So stacking 2 chronos in a raids gives you ridiculous... Oh, I see. Because people are still doing double chrono. Even on boons like Resistance. So now boons are even more busted in raids, making boon specs like Support Herald even less useful. But mediocre level fractal groups, etc. struggle. Right, so there's still the double... This is the exact same problem we had a long time ago. Where an aspect was essentially... like removed or revoked, so it just reinforced the necessity to double up. So what I would expect from the devs' perspective here is they want to break the interaction with Signet of Inspiration doubling. So what I would expect is some kind of debuff. I mean, they wouldn't want to do that. They've never had a unique debuff modifier shared, have they? To allies. They've never done that. Internally, they might do that, like with portals and things and cooldowns and when you press F. I don't know. What I would expect, mate, sorry, to finish that thought, you guys may not know, but when you press F on a portal, you actually are inflicted with a condition in the game. You don't see it on your UI. It doesn't put you in combat, and you don't know what its effects are because you can't mouse over anything. But entering a portal does put a condition on you. Believe it or not. What the condition does is it stops you being able to enter a portal again for 1/4 of a second. And then the condition disappears again. And it's just a mechanic to stop you from spamming portals too quickly. Interestingly, when Resistance came into the game, if you had Resistance on you and you entered a portal, you could go in and out of the portal instantly at light speed. And so you could be like an Ellie that cast a Phoenix on someone and then spammed portals forward and back and made the Phoenix hit loads and loads and loads of times until it despawned. So they use conditions and unique conditions and unique modifiers in an AoE capacity, but they're always hidden from you. But so to go back to Signet of Inspiration, I guess what they'll be looking to do is they really only want you to have that 1 chrono. I think that's the whole point of the 10-man boons, right? On the trait. So I think probably they'll have some kind of mechanism that means if you were just under the effects of Signet of Inspiration, you cannot be under the effects of Signet of Inspiration again for X duration, and it scales for 3 seconds, and it scales with concentration. So it will always last as long as your prior boons were. So all the old boons have to drop before the second Signet can come in, or something like that. But that's a very clunky mechanic, so I don't know. That's cool. That's cool, though. I'm glad I understand that now. WP, go talk to an adept. 2 Star Trek? Yeah. The script was supposedly too Trekky, too
cerebral. Explosions, please.
Alright, I know. There is nothing cringe about that reality. New Star Trek does suck. I got into Star Trek in college a few years back, and fuck J.J. Abrams, fuck Lost, and poo-poo on Discovery. Dude, I agree. I mean, it's not all just Abrams' fault. It's because Paramount are only allowed to make movies if they are visually distinct from the old Prime timeline, which is why you see all the continuity issues in a big way. But, yeah, it's not. Apparently, one of the new movies was okay. I think the second one from the new trilogy was all right. But, oh, no, the most recent one. But it was a bomb at the box office. Original lore for Guild Wars Utopia would have had us meet Dwayne as father, more gods, but this is no longer canon for now. Yeah, they might revisit the ideas. Guys, if I don't buy DLC in this game, can I be a good player versus the DLC players? Yeah, you can. There are definitely PvP builds that are free-to-play builds that you can do well on. Sorry this has been asked recently, but what are your thoughts on VR now? I haven't really been following it for 2 years now very closely. I'm vaguely interested in Gen 2 stuff, but I can't say too much more than that, I'm afraid. The ending of The Raven was lit. Bought it just because of the LP and never played it because you watched the LP. That's awesome, man. Don't forget there are different difficulty modes, aren't there? And there's a lot of achievements and extra story tangents and stuff Matt and I never got that you might want to go back and look at. Especially if it's remastered. WP wants nerfs. That's an awesome little emote and scare. I like that. How about buff things up, not nerf things down? Nerfing is always less fun. Yeah, you're asking for power creep there, which just makes the game easier. And that's not fun either, so. You find the new Trek movies and series too flashy and edgy and doesn't have the same focus. Listen, the old Trek movies were crap as well, to be honest. I haven't seen the Kirk ones, but like the next generation movies are all crap. None of them have what was good about Star Trek, and they all started bombing as well. They are crap. I'm sorry. I respect the actors. I like the show. I like the universe, but they're crap. It's never translated well onto the big screen. Ever. They just manufacture bullshit to just create just explosions. I don't know. The only reason you enjoy those movies is because you know the characters so well, and it feels like returning home for a while, but, you know, the movies themselves aren't very good. I don't think. I haven't watched all of them yet, so take that with a grain of salt. What are my expectations for this year's Halloween and Guild Wars 2? Return of the old achievements, some new rewards to go for, hopefully some new costume brawl interaction. I think that would be great. And please, again, ArenaNet, you've got a cool PvP game type. You've got that MOBA game type. Come on, man. Come on. Let me play it, please. Please. I loved it in 2012. Let me love it again. I love it long time. Let's do it. Can we get the Tomb Raider LP? Way, way, way down the line. What do you think about the idea that at the end of the season, some massive cosmic force in the mist is going to eat Kralkatorrik? Ha! I like that idea. It sounds kind of crazy and wild, and sure, let's do it. I would be pretty accepting of that. I'll be accepting a lot of the stories. It's just about the execution of them, frankly. As long as it's believable, as long as the characters work well, as long as I'm invested in the state of the world as it is, I'll accept quite a few different things. That would be a fun one. ArenaNet adding guild halls would be a good expansion, Stella. Actually, I always said you think you want it, but you don't for guild halls. I always said that. Here's my story with guild halls. This isn't me being totally arrogant, and I'll explain why. I was very cynical that they'd actually be any good. I was even with all the extra features and stuff that they added, I didn't think that there was a need for it in Guild Wars 2. I didn't think people would take to it. Everyone was crying for it. I talked about this in my Heart of Thorns review, and I showed you video evidence of it. One of the things that got the biggest applause with Heart of Thorns was guild halls. And ask any player out there right now, and they will whine and say, oh, but they just weren't done well enough, WP. They just weren't done well enough. But except, here's the thing. When that audience applauded, and when everyone was cheering for guild halls and whatnot, they were doing it for an expectation of a continuation of the Guild Wars 1 standard. That is basically an empty fucking room that you can just stand around in with your friends. That's what Guild Wars 1 did. That's what everyone wanted. Some minor capacity to upgrade it. A hub, a base of operations for you and your guildies. That's how it was treated in Guild Wars 1. And everyone's expectation was just for Guild Wars 2 to match that. And they applauded and they drooled at the mouths. And they thought it was going to be the greatest thing in the world. And I said, way back then, and even before the announcement, that it was irrelevant for Guild Wars 2. That the rest of the game's infrastructure in the sequel does not allow for that to be the meaningful thing it once more was. It would have to go above and beyond. It seems ArenaNet appreciated that too, because then they started going on about all these other features, which people were like, okay, cool, fine. The other features, yes, were not implemented well enough, and I thoroughly unpacked why in about 2 hours of essay discussion over 2 episodes of the Heart of Thorns review, okay? And I've done that from a very privileged position of being at the top in terms of being financed for Guildhall decorations and whatnot, okay? And yes, those extra features were not done that very well. But that does not escape the fact that most people weren't expecting them in the first place. People thought they wanted guild halls, but they really didn't. And that's what it comes down to. The game was not built for them to be that good. And the only saving grace was if the other features were amazing that the devs didn't do well enough or pay their due diligence to during the Heart of Thorns era. That's the truth. And now I think we will get more guild halls, but only because there's an expectation for them that they're satisfying, rather than doing anything really good with them. There you go. All right, guys. I mean, we're almost 2.5 hours in here, and I've not managed to catch up with you. I really haven't. I've got so much scrolling to do. What niche would Fish and Phil? I think it would be best as a genuine AFK farm thing for Guild Wars 2. I know some of you will cringe at that and be like, oh my god, no. But I don't think that should be in the DNA of the game. I don't think it should usurp the game in any way. But I think that that is a side of MMOs and MMO experience and gameplay. And since Guild Wars 2 is at this very broad place now where it tries to satisfy everything, I think, you know, there's a market for that. And I think people, just like they missed with the Guildhall thing, I think that people will miss this too. So, yeah. I think kind of a sitting around, something to do while you're idle kind of thing. And I think it could work really well. No, I was not talking about Fortune's Veil, Zach. I was not talking about that. Fortune's Veil was a totally different thing. I'm talking about literally Edge of the Mist. It's 2 floating keeps in the sky facing off against one another with, you know, generic terrain between them. And there was also, if I remember rightly, behind one of the keeps, like a giant, like, square courtyard kind of place. What do you think about the Guild Wars 2 YouTube scene being so stagnant? Wow, that's a crazy question. I honestly don't think I can comment on the Guild Wars 2 YouTube scene because I'm not involved very much in watching other people on the Guild Wars 2 YouTube scene. I'm very insular, really. I keep to myself. It's no judgment on other people, but... you know, I don't really watch many other YouTube videos about Guild Wars at the moment. Very rarely do they actually have any topic or something that I think is... that I want an outside opinion on. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I think that... it's a scary thing, actually. I think in a lot of ways that's really bad. That I should be my own audience in a lot of ways. I don't know. Is it stagnant? Is my question. Is it stagnant? I would hope not. What is stagnant to you? What's stagnant about it? Am I included in that as stagnant? Or are you just saying there's not enough people, that they don't work hard enough? Listen, it's very hard to get people to be hard workers when it comes to Guild Wars 2 because you're not actually rewarded for your efforts because the community isn't there, you know? Like, I mean, I really want to be very clear. I can put half an afternoon into like a New World video and get 20 to 30 times the attention for it. I mean, that's why you don't see hard workers, because most people are just in it for, like... It's not that people are in it for the money, it's that people want to feel a payoff. And if it's so much easier for them to do something else, then they'll do something else, you know? A good example, and again, it's no judgment to him, but it's a perfect example of just what naturally happens. I think I saw Jebro had a really successful Elder Scrolls Online stream recently. I think I saw him tweeting about it. That, you know, basically a ton of people don't always watch Jebro, and a ton of people watch him on that. And you'll watch how ham he's gone on that game now, and how, you know, he's really trying to satisfy that. He's trying to grow something. He's trying to get a snowball, and that's what it is. And so people will find things come easier in other areas, then people will be in other areas. So if it's stagnant, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is stagnant, then you just got that to deal with. That's the reality. I don't know. I still think interpreting as all gods cause you blindness is a bit gaff. It would be rather they cause a bright light that makes you avert your eyes by default as a sign of respect. Well, the blindness thing is interesting in that it works really well from like a setting creation standpoint and a world building thing, and when you're not going to interact with the gods much. But as the story has started to do that more, it becomes more of a nuisance, really. And there's no way that would have been written in if the devs had known how much attention they'd give the gods at a later date. Lagos would be a good race as they look super cool. However, they would lose all their intrigue, so I agree they are not the best choice. Thank you, I agree. Yes, ArenaNet should put more Guild Wars in Square Maps too. Square Maps too. There's an interesting saying along the lines of the less you know about a topic, the more you think you know. Yeah, what is that saying? I always get worried when I get really confident about a topic and really arrogant and really like gung-ho. I always think of that quote and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm being wrong. There's another one. What is it? Oh, no. I was thinking there's another comment which is small minds discuss people. Medium mind. What does that mean? Medium minds discuss events. And smart minds discuss ideas. What is that? There's that as well. And I always think of that too. Always trying to remain multifaceted and
cerebral.
Okay. The man that said that became Blizzard's SEO a couple of days ago. Wait, the man that said what? You mentioned in the past you won't do Dark Souls because I missed the bandwagon, but they're releasing a new IP that would be just within your sensibilities that you should check out from Soft. Also, do you think you would get into Cyberpunk 2077? I doubt with Cyberpunk, but I was thinking about that, the new IP thing. I still feel like I'd missed the bandwagon, though, because the bandwagon now is about the company, so there is a bandwagon, and I would still feel like an outsider, even though the game has changed. There's kind of a very, what's the word, secular group of people that's like their thing, you know? I don't know, it's all in my head, and it's always been stupid to, as I've said every time this comes up. But I just can't shake that feeling. Hey, WP, what do you think about the addition of housing? I've been wanting it for years. I don't really care for housing. I think that it wouldn't actually offer that much. It would be a nice boon for the economy and provide some sinks for a while, but don't really care too much. That's probably another big feature for an expansion, though. Here's the thing with housing. It would sell. It would be just like Guild Halls, I think, in a lot of ways. Probably a bit better than Guild Halls. But it would be one of those things that is like, it sells boxes, but in the end, will it actually have such a drastic impact on the game? I doubt it. Scrolling. The quote, you think you want it, but you don't, was from Blizzard in response to the WoW community demanding vanilla WoW back, since it has changed for the worse for the expansions over the time. Ah, that's interesting. So it's got a bit more history. It's a bit more layered when it comes to their side of the community. That's very, very interesting. And I guess people are quite smugly sitting there now because WoW Classic has been announced, and the devs are browbeaten into admitting fault. What in your mind would be a really fun gameplay loop that could be added to open world PvE, ways to shake up the grind farms and make them more than mindless zergs? That's a beautiful question. I think it comes down to cooldowns again, man. I really do. I think it comes down to cooldowns, matters of... I mean, the entire reward structure of the game is kind of broken as well, so that kind of sucks. I do think that Guild Wars 2's loop, if you will, I don't really know. I'm out of my depth here, but I feel like it's too short. You'll experience everything you're going to experience in like a 5-minute window. And after that, it's just doing it again and again. And you might go to a different area of Istan to continue the Istan farm or whatever. But, I mean, in terms of the skills you're executing, the things you're thinking about for that very moment-to-moment heartbeat of the game, you've experienced it all within 5 minutes. And I think that's a mistake. I don't think that's good for a lifestyle game. I don't think that's good for an MMO. I think it needs to be much more variant than that. For PvE, at least, open world stuff. And I think a lot of that comes down to cooldowns. I think other games get around it with having repairs to do and having... more interesting consumables, but basically, and just clunkiness, basically, and staggers for your experience. But none of that's in Guild Wars 2 because that apparently doesn't respect your time. So you kind of just get this adrenaline-filled go, 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 go experience. Waypoint, use all your skills. Waypoint, use all your skills. Waypoint, use all your skills. That's essentially what it breaks down to in the end, with very brief windows of crafting every X hours. And, yeah, I think that's a little bit, it's too short. It's like they wanted the meta to go 1 chrono for 10 players, and instead 2 chronos just ended up even stronger. Yeah, so, I mean, wow, I must be really scrolled up. I don't know what the fix will be. You're pretty sure all internal cooldowns are also conditions? Really? Yeah, that would make sense. Not after cast, just global cooldowns, you mean? Yeah, essentially a global cooldown on Signet of Inspiration, if that is indeed what they're trying. And before they turn around the whole Mist thing, and next expansion region is Utopia. Well, yeah, I mean, again, I just don't think we always have to follow in those footsteps. When, if ever, was the moment that you think Guild Wars as a narrative jumped the shark? Well, so this depends on exactly what you mean by jump the shark. So let me just take Google's definition here. Of a television series or film to reach a point where far-fetched events are included merely for the sake of novelty, indicative of a decline in quality. Well, my first instinct was to say Season 1, stuff during Season 1. But it's a shit answer because I don't really have any great specifics for you. But I feel like Season 1 had a lot of shark jumping. But the idea of far-fetched, what has been far-fetched for Guild Wars? What has been unbelievable and implausible for Guild Wars? That's the real thing, right? Do something negatively implausible. I mean, another thing that kind of springs to mind is the Zaitan fight in its implausibility, but that's not really true because there is some kind of a baseline for as to how that happened. Oh, here's a shark jumping of the shark, a very good one. Going into the dream for Mordremoth. Trahearne has just suddenly allowed us to go into the dream, and then that's his weakness, and then we kill him, and all that just all happened at once. That was jumping the shark. There you go. That's a very, very good one. Mordremoth. That's the worst one as well of the entire game. The sudden explanation for how we get through that. Timy's sudden revelations about Omad's machine and the subduing of Jormag and Primordus 2, but I can see broadly what the devs were trying to do with the worlds and the setting to pave the way for Path of Fire with that, you know, in terms of making some dragons a bit inactive for a bit. So I forgive that one a bit more. WP, it's not that they weren't done well enough. It's just like Sun's Refuge, well, guild halls haven't been supported. Yeah, well, yeah. Not being done well enough is not to support them post-release. I fully appreciate what you mean there, yeah. That was one of the big problems with guild halls, that they weren't continually supported. Some of it was just completely, like, nonsensical design. Like, the way that the War Room interacts with World versus World is really fascinating, but only worked for a period of about 1 or 2 weeks right when Heart of Thorns came out. Then the entire interaction with it and the asymmetry it brought was broken again. So unless they encourage some way of people continually making new guilds, or when the alliance system comes in, what should happen is every time there's a new matchup in the alliance system, your war room should reset. And it should be a job to build it up and get access to the stuff, and a community effort to do that. And I know World vs. Wilders will just see that as a tax now, and everything's a tax, and they don't realize that asymmetry is what made the game good. But that for the war room to work at all, it needs some kind of mechanism like that. So there's some, and the game doesn't have it. So there's some things about the way guild halls are implemented that's just like fundamentally nonsensical. But other things were a matter of updating support. The assembly device is another really weird one where the post support just left it in an odd place where it's like, why is this a mechanic at all? WP doesn't like leaving his echo chamber. Just kidding. Please don't hate me, senpai. Yeah, you guys are welcome to disagree. This has been a bit echo chambery. I haven't got anyone really angry today. Nobody's riled up. What's up with that, guys? It's the whole all eggs in a basket problem. People want every game to act the same instead of playing different games to fit their needs for boredom. Yeah, that's a very good observation too, Mumra88. And it's an interesting thing to toy with because no developer will actively encourage you to play other games. That's another interesting tightrope ArenaNet walks. They want to be in a position where they let you feel it's okay to be casual without outright saying, hey, why don't you go play World of Warcraft for a while? Do you know what I mean? Like, and so because devs don't want to acknowledge that, communities are kind of directed into this place where it's okay to expect Guild Wars to offer everything. And so then you end up with these weird sort of amorphous grey MMOs that do everything but nothing perfectly. Or close to perfect. The devs would need to lock the race for players that haven't completed the associated expansion or previous ones, so it can be assumed players know the story going in. There's a lot of different ways they could do a race story. I'd love you to watch my video on that. I think it's really good. This is the problem. If I have got a video, I just sound like I'm hand-waving people and just saying, oh, go watch my other stuff. It seems so shilly. Scrolling. Guys, I'm skipping a lot of messages here. I'm really sorry. Commenting on the sigil of nullification issue. It's so stupid right now. I don't really care. I'm not making the armor, so. If it makes people spam a ton of tomes. In fact, let's have a look, shall we? Let's go in game. I almost forgot that that was possible. Oh, I need to de-mirror this now. Well, this is going to look really weird. Alright. So, let's see where the sigil of nullification is at. Housing would be amazing. FF14's community has a giant section that literally survives with nothing but housing. And I mean, it was a big thing in WildStar too. I could be wrong. I mean, I definitely think it would be a bigger hit than guild halls. There's an argument to be made for, because we have guild halls, why not just let's do it all together. Right. Here you can see me selling tons of Shards of Glory, because there's absolutely no reason. A broken economy. And also ages ago buying some tonics for the new thing. Not too expensive. Money going up a lot because of all the PvP. Right. What was I going to look at? Sigil of Null. It's only 12 gold, man. Come on. If that goes up to like 40 or 50, I'm spamming level up tomes. I'm picking those up, baby. I only need to spend like 60 for a tome. So I would... and I've got... What? 5,000? So I could do that. And a lot of PvPers could do that. A lot of people could do that. Yay, we get the Lion's Arch music. Hope you guys are pleased. Oh, actually, I can cancel it by just going straight back here. That's cool. Who haven't we seen? Thief, I think. Would I be interested in Druidstone, the game the Grimrock devs made? I talked about that and where my interest level is. I'm vaguely interested in it. So is ArenaNet just going to ignore it? I don't know. It will probably self-balance over the patch's lifetime and lifespan. I love that one of the sigils I get from leveling up now means something. I reckon they should ignore it, to be honest. I really do. Because in a year from now, there'll still be lots of people going back and making that armor, and it will just slowly come back down, the value of it. Scarlet Briar was ridiculous and unplausible. She was a Mary Sue, so that in my mind was jumping the shark. So I don't actually think that Scarlet was a Mary Sue. Mary Sue being the idea of sort of like implementing yourself into the world is like a perfect thing within the universe, right? That's what I understand as a Mary Sue as. Google says a Mary Sue is an original character in a fan fiction, usually but not always female, who for one reason or another is deemed undesirable by fan critics. A character may be judged Mary Sue if she is competent in too many areas, is physically attractive, and or is viewed as admirable by sympathetic characters. Okay, so my understanding of a Mary Sue, I guess, is a bit antiquated now, and this is sort of the more well accepted thing about it, because I definitely thought it was that sense of implementing yourself. According to Google, there, I think Scarlet was a big Mary Sue, wasn't she? Competent in too many areas. Like, that is the definition of Scarlet. That was what's... but it wasn't done like... it wasn't focused on in the correct way. It was sort of hand-waved. Well, it wasn't hand-waved. What did they do wrong there? Why was her competence in so many areas a detriment and not an asset to her character? There's something about the order of how they delivered this information. It felt more like she was competent in so many areas just as a means to an end, just to do it because, oh, I'm a fan of the Sylvari and I want really amazing Sylvari in this story. It felt like very artificial. But as an original female that is undesirable by fan critics, that's a pretty broad general term there. But yeah, definitely, she was undesirable by many fans. Critics, maybe too rich of a word, but what do I think about thieves in this meta? Which format? That wouldn't work because it just incentivized guilds to seek players with lots of money. And then the money would run out and we'd be back into a utopian dream because the gold sinks would work. As a Wild vs. Wild player, all I want is skirmish tickets are not worthless if you don't want to make the legendary armor. FF14's lead dev has actually openly said they expect people to unsub and go play other games because they know they can't satisfy everyone. That's the kind of candor I appreciate. I like that. We need rewards not involves gem stores, so we won't get tons of gold farm, but toys and skins by gem store. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other mess of the game. Devs might not want to, but the forums have let their candy to tell you to go play WoW if you suggested speeding up the release of raids or fractals. Really? I'm not making the armor, not yet, no. Yeah, I know you need a lot of the sigils, but I'm not making the armor. And you can just very slowly work on it. I have no problem with long-term goals in the game, guys. All right, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be sympathetic. It's literally there as a skin set. And it's not like it's some obscene thing that looks so much better than everything else in the game and is a grind, which I'm sure would be a much bigger problem to people. It's an optional skin set you can go for. And if this one happens to be a long-term reward because the economy moved to this place, then that's a long-term reward. You've got Halloween coming up where you can get spammed with 3 new armor sets very easily, the Lunatech sets, right? Like, it's okay to have a long-term reward. Even if it was a mistake from the devs to have that how it is. I think the nullification sigil might be ArenaNet experimenting with fixing the sigil market. Maybe making it possible to put 4 major sigils in the Forge might help as well. Maybe. I don't know. The sigil market, the minor and major thing, the only way to fix that is with like a leaguing system, with a trading post reset and a fresh economy for new players within that league. Going through a repurposed, rebuilt progression phase in Corteria. That's the only way that they'll do it. And otherwise, that's it. It's over. Because there will be too many TP barons that are hoarding crappy sigils, and there's just too much influx and supply. I mean, a lot of them do just get vendor trashed now, so maybe not too many wham into investments in the TP, and maybe they can do something, but... Oh, you're just trying to fix Superior sigil market? Maybe, yeah. Devs might not want to tell you to play out... Oh, I already read that. Scrolling down. The problem is that the armor isn't expensive. Is that it's expensive in an extremely dumb way. I don't think it's a more dumb way just because you're spending that money on the TP and it's being taxed on the TP rather than a vendor. Where's the Elder Scrolls? You might have did you tweet me recently, West Sticker, as well? Oh, dude, is that an emote from Mike? That's awesome. Is that Magical Mike's emote? Dude, I love that thing. That looks great. Magica 36. Dude, who made that for him? That's awesome. Let's see. I realized one of the Guild Wars 2 philosophies was that it had no subscription, and I realized that one of the reasons you started playing Guild Wars 1. But do you think the Guild Wars 2 would have been better if it had relied on a subscription model rather than microtransactions? I don't know for sure. What I would actually say, and this is maybe interesting coming from me, as someone who was vehemently against subscription fees and whatnot and found them unnecessary, I would say that I think ArenaNet have been really... let's just be clear, the gem store is a compromise on our fun, and it always has been, and it's always done vaguely crappy things, right? And I don't like it as a mechanism, all right? That's my baseline. However... On top of that, I would say that ArenaNet have been very, very good for the past 6 years to not do anything horrendously terrible with the gem store. There have been moments where people have lashed out and acted like things are horrendously terrible, but haven't actually been that aberrative to the general nature of the gem store. Mostly, they've been pretty straight and narrow. There's never, and especially within the context of other MMOs, that just straight up blatantly spell power creep and power acceleration and all that kind of stuff. ArenaNet's been really good. So the reason I say this is you now ask me, would this game have been better with a sub fee? Now the cynic in me wants to say no. They'd have a sub fee and microtransactions too, and a box too, and they just do the whole fucking lot, and nothing works with a sub fee, blah, 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 blah. However, because I actually think ArenaNet have been really consistent and careful with their gem store for so many years, and I have so much confidence they keep going, I actually think that if ArenaNet did, in 2012, sit there and say, Guild Wars 2 is a sub-fee game, but don't worry, we promise we will never do a microtransaction. We will never sell you a box. It is just the sub-fee. I actually genuinely do believe that this company would have gone through with that. Obviously, the numbers and stuff, that's a stupid thing for me to say, because if the economy doesn't allow it, then the economy doesn't allow it, and they would seek to diversify. But I genuinely, really do think that they have been very, very, very careful and very, very good with the philosophies they set out about their store. They haven't deviated from, you know, and they really haven't. And so, yeah, if I would have been very cynical about it. But since it's ArenaNet, if they had done that, and all these years it had just been a sub fee, the game would have been better. You ask me, would Guild Wars 2 have been better with a sub fee? If all of that stuff aligned, as I just said, it would have been better, obviously, because that compromise against our fun of microtransactions wouldn't have been there. And I do actually trust that they would have stuck with that philosophy that they laid out at the outset. But they never did that, and whether that's even plausible is a whole other thing. So, you know, it's a hypothetical you've given me, which I'm incredulous about the reality of it, but yeah. Was the balance patch on the second the quality patch, or is another one upcoming? I think this one was considered a mini bonus one, even though it was very substantive. So I think, yeah, we'll have another one coming up soon. I believe the devs also, by the way, explicitly said that they don't really do it quarterly anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. Yes, it's his emote. I made it. Dude, that's awesome. Well, congratulations to him and for having such a talented person helping him out. That's awesome. The gem store's become way more intrusive in the past 2 years. It was never this bad. I disagree. That's completely false. But maybe other people agree. A streamer called Envy, who came from BDO, has said we are so lucky with the Guild Wars 2 cash shop compared to BDO, which has lots of pay-to-win scummy stuff. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no contest when you compare to other stuff. I know that BDO is particularly egregious, so that comparison is a bit duplicitous, but it is pretty bad. If Guild Wars 2 was a sub fee, I wouldn't have started playing. Yeah, and I mean, there's all that stuff too. I probably wouldn't have been playing either. I'd rather pay a sub fee for a guaranteed stream of income. The thing is, no one's ever actually done that. Not even Blizzard has done that. You know, no one's actually pulled it off. No one's actually said, we're charging you a sub fee and only a sub fee. There will never be a microtransaction. There will never be a box price. Or, you know, it's just I don't even care about the box price. Sell me a box and a sub fee if you have to. But the microtransactions, as far as I can tell, no one's done that. Because they are such cash cows. Do you guys know? Tell me now. I just caught up with chat, by the way. Momentous occasion. I just got up. Took me 2 hours, 45 minutes to catch up with all the questions in chat on today's stream. You held me here talking until now. How crazy is that? But, yeah, give me one game. Is there a single game that was just a sub fee? In the last 10 years. Last 20 years. I'll give you 20 years of leeway. Wait, when does 20 years take us back? No, 20 years is too much. 10 years. Seriously, if you don't have more than 40 gold in a game that throws gold at you, you're bad with no money. That's a lovely contribution there. I wonder if they'd ever consider adding living story content for the gem store. And I don't mean living world, but stuff you have to pay for from the get-go, the side quest unlock. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how things would go if they added an optional sub fee now and you wanted to help with raid releases. Basically crowdfunding in a weird way. If you think the average person has more than 50 gold, you're seriously out of touch with the average. Yeah, I don't think that the average person necessarily has that much. It depends how you declare average. There's a lot of hyper casuals who think that they're average just because they don't play the game much, but that doesn't make you average. Depends what metric you go with. If we're going by playtime, you're blatantly not average because you barely put any effort into the game. Blizzard already has the content drought, and now that they're trying to sell a mount with 6 months of sub fee, you only get the mount if you pay 6 months now. The ratio of in-game content to microtransactions in games like FF14 and WoW is insane compared to Guild Wars 2. What do you mean by that? The ratio of in-game content to microtransactions? You're saying that there's a lot of content compared to the amount of microtransaction stuff, while in Guild Wars 2 there's a lot of microtransactions compared to content? And then we get into some weird discussions where I don't actually think that has anything to do with the business model. I think that's to do with the game's design philosophies. Because Guild Wars 2 adds fucking crazy amounts of content. It's just that it also has so many systems that backdoor it all and allow you to blast your way through that it feels like it's very short. But Guild Wars 2 pound for pound puts crazy amounts of content into the game at an astonishing rate. It's just not worth much because Guild Wars 2 sieves water with its content. Because of all of its time-respecting stuff. Alright. Being bad with money is irrelevant. The game does not feed you money through average play. You do not swim in gold without going out of your way to do activities that target gold. Mylan Plower is actually wrong about that. I'll tell you how you can swim in gold without actively seeking out gold. Who knows what I'm about to say? Who knows? A cookie for whoever knows what I'm about to say. We didn't get a mod, so we can do a giveaway, by the way. Who knows what I'm about to say? How do you start swimming in gold without actively seeking it out? PvP. Mylan saying it even themselves. There you go. PvP, baby. I literally have 380 gold just because I've been PvPing lately. That's the only reason I have this. And I wasn't looking for gold. I wasn't trying to get this. I don't care about this necessarily. I also have 5 Istan cash boxes filled with Mystic Clovers, Obsi Shards, and all kinds of other stuff. Right? Dragonite ore. Skill points as well. Free skill points for new characters. That's literally just basically means a hero point from the desert or the jungle every time you get this done. Crazy amounts of Kralkatite ore. And do you know what? It's fun. Yeah, having 380 gold just means you're not spending... Exactly. Because you don't need to spend gold in PvP. There is no tax on your time in PvP. World versus World taxes you for your time. And rightly so, because that's some of the fun of it. The asymmetry that comes from the taxation and the different ways in which people can play and prepare for it. That's what it's all about, okay? PvE does as well, and that's obviously, you know, there has to be sinks for gold. PvP is about the raw experience, and you can just take crazy amounts of profit with you. Pigeon Power says, PvP is the only game mode I can't seem to get into enjoy it. Never clicked for me. Keep trying. You'll have that moment. How does World versus World tax you? Well, there's loads of money sinks in World. Is that a serious question? I need clovers. Where do you get that item? It comes from the end of the reward track. Any reward track will give you this. Any reward track. Alright, yeah, Zuali needs to leave, and so do I. Thanks, guys, for the stream. It's been very cool. We'll do a real stream tomorrow. AMA, I guess. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you all had fun, and it's been really cool to see those of you consistently in chat the whole time. You're all awesome. My throat is actually a little bit sore here. So go away, have some nice dinner, enjoy the rest of your Saturdays, and I'll see you tomorrow for the actual story and whatnot. It will not be a really, really long community discussion, thing like this. I hope that this makes people feel like I actually pay attention to chat for once. So yeah, cheers, guys. Catch you later. See you next time.